typing in chat. Hey, body. There we go. How you doing?
Oh, who, me?
Yeah, I guess you.
Oh, I guess you, Crystal.
How you doing?
How am I doing?
You can answer.
Twitch is
You're
Twitch
allowed
is
to.
There we go. I'm allowed to answer. I'm doing okay. I'm feeling like I didn't get as much done these past 2 days that I've actually had to myself as I wanted, but I've gotten some of the stuff done. And the things that I got done were like decently good. They were like solid to-do list items. They weren't just like I'm procrastinating by sorting through this pile of papers, you know? So I'm feeling okay. How about you? How's you feeling?
I'm doing all right. Now that everything for June is like squared away, like it's all at the very least reserved, if not outright paid for. All of now that June is entirely squared away, I'm starting to get actually like excited about the details. Like, so at GDQ, there's a pool.
What?
There's a pool.
Okay, you're lucky you told me this now because I can see you forgetting to tell me and then me not having a bathing suit.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think of it. I didn't like, okay, earlier when we were reviewing logistics, I was on the GDQ site and like going down, like, you know, it's like, cause I was trying to find, you know, it's like the shuttle from the airport information.
Right.
And it just like out of the corner of my eye, like as I'm scanning, it was just, it's like, oh yeah, there's a pool and there's like an area just for like GDQ attendees and stuff like this. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I was upstairs grabbing something, like, you know, I was getting my luggage out of the closet and whatnot, and I needed something that was still in there. And I saw, and it was like, there was my bathing suit. And I was like, oh man, pool, bathing suit.
Yes. I'm really excited about that fact because let me tell you, I feel fucking amazing in my bathing suit. Like, I am at the height of my cute confidence in the bathing suit I own.
Nice.
Like, any other outfit, like, you know, I've got some outfits I feel really good in. I've got some outfits I feel fine in. And I've got some outfits where it's like, I don't care what people think, but I don't necessarily feel attractive. But in that bathing suit, I feel like I could be doing some like pinup model shooting. Like I'm ready for that.
Right.
And so that's great. I love putting on my bathing suit just for any activity that requires it, especially a pool. I'm very at home in the water because I grew up in the Great Lakes state. So I'm used to swimming in anything available, like a river, a lake, a pool, a kiddie pool, a sprinkler, you know, a pond.
So this evening, so I've got two different things that we could take a look at right now. I've got the same project in mind. Basically, we're gonna, we're gonna try to reassemble some parts of the 50 Shades video, because it's actually kind of like there's a bunch of sort of complexities in there that make it useful for you know, like, okay, what is editing software sort of capable of. And so I've got two to look at. Obviously Resolve, which is the one that I kind of keep pushing, and part of the reason why I keep pushing Resolve is because I'm actually slowly debating switching my workflow entirely over to Resolve, and saving several $100s a year versus my Adobe subscription. And the other one is one that has kind of always been on my periphery. It is not normally down here on my on my bar, but I've put it there for today just because. HitFilm, which is one that markets itself very aggressively and very specifically to YouTubers. And I'm wondering what people have more interest in, or if everyone has no opinion whatsoever and they are in fact here to just have me tell them. Crystal?
Are you excited? Yeah, I'm here. Can't you hear the idling motorcycle outside my window?
No, if it drops below a certain point, YouTube, or not YouTube, Hangouts automatically gates it.
Well, I'm excited for anything that you're going to show tonight because as an aspiring YouTuber slash best friend of a lot of other YouTubers,
All right, I'm just for fun, we'll do Resolve, but I'm going to load HitFilm first just so y'all can see this. How it markets itself, how it positions itself. So you come in, it's got this fancy loading screen, and then it loads all this.
excited for when I finally see it load.
So like lens flares, Captain America shield effect, Thor shield effect,
Jesus.
And that, you know, it's got Twitter testimonials embedded into its giant grid thing. Like all of this is just marketing. Like this is all just marketing right here.
Yeah, like I don't need any of that when I open up an app to like edit a video.
And then on the left here is all of the like microtransactions. Like it's all of the plugins that you can buy, and they all have names that make them sound like energy drinks, like 360 degree VFX. I was very, very thrown by like edit starter. Like what? What exactly does that do? Can I not start without? Like, so this software, HitFilm, it's I would consider it a distinct downgrade from Creative Cloud, from you know, so if you're looking at like Adobe, Autodesk, Blackmagic, Avid, it's a distinct downgrade from those environments. But on the editing side, it's pretty much a side grade from like Vegas, Premiere Elements, you know, a bunch of the other stuff that's out there. Its actual value is that it is an alternative to After Effects, which is something that there just aren't a lot of. There are now more of them, but you know, so there's still just not that many that even come close to what After Effects can do. So that's kind of its niche. And actually, like if you go to like create a new project, its default is compositing. And like if you're looking at these, like all of these are largely focusing on, you know, the compositing aspects of it. You know, shield effects, Thor effects, light flares, morph effects, extruding text. So it really, at the end of the day, it is positioning itself more as an After Effects alternative than anything else. But speaking of After Effects alternatives, we'll quit out of HitFilm. Resolve 15 has merged Fusion into Resolve. So this has been Blackmagic's strategy for a couple years now. So in fact, actually, it started when they bought Resolve in the first place. So DaVinci Resolve used to be this absurdly expensive hardware software combination thing, you know, that you would pay like $30,000-$40,000 for a Resolve workstation. And you know, like that's what Oh Brother Where Art Thou was graded on back in the day, when that kind of digital grading was like the cutting edge. So Blackmagic bought Resolve, bought DaVinci, and sort of reworked it, like separated it from the hardware, so that there was now like that it's like, okay, here's Resolve the software, here's the hardware controllers, and basically split them apart and brought the price way down, and now actually has like the free version and the studio version is sort of the split now, and even the studio version is only about $300. They make all the money largely off of the hardware. Like you can still buy a $25,000 control panel and stuff like that. So they've continued along this line by by purchasing two other companies that are very similar in what they do, and bringing them and folding them into Resolve. And so those are Fairlight and Fusion. So Fairlight is another company that was, exact same idea as DaVinci used to be, where it's like, their principal thing was these massive audio control panels, and like these dedicated workstations that the kind of thing that it's like they don't really have a price, like you don't just buy one, you contact a vendor, and then you negotiate with, like, you work out a solution with them, and you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars to start. And so they did that with Fairlight with 14. Was it 13 or no? Because they didn't do a 13. Okay, so one of the things that they did not do, they did Resolve 12, then Resolve 12.5, then Resolve 14. They skipped 13. They skipped Resolve 13. And yeah, so that's been their strategy. And so now, if you want to watch me just like ram headfirst into a brick wall, we'll click on Fusion a little later, and you can watch me try to do literally anything. So
I want to see you try to do a thing you're not already immediately good at. Just one time. I'd love to witness that.
It's going to be amazing. Okay, so we're actually just going to grab the entire 50 Shades project folder. Yeah, we're going to change that so that it's all... all right. So this is actually the first thing that I tested with HitFilm last night when I was busy grabbing a bunch of stuff. Those screenshots that I posted last night. And HitFilm can't do this. Like, you can't just import an entire folder and have it automatically create your bins. You need to manually create every bin, and then populate every bin, and it was automatically one of those things like that automatically is like a deal breaker for me. Is that it's like no, I need to be able to import just like an entire thing. And yeah, so now we've got it. So there's actually like the vlog footage from the other day. Here's all of our sound, which got a little, actually it got a little out of order, but we got Mike, Lindsay, Crystal's stuff all in it, and then cam roll 1, cam roll 2, cam roll 3, cam 2, roll 1, which has a mix of stuff, because cam 2 roll 1 was actually originally it was set to raw. The camera was set to raw when we started, so a bunch of these clips are actually were recorded in raw. Caro was, we don't know exactly what happened. We think that when we power cycled the camera, it reset.
I I gotta tell you I was saying that Kara bumped it. I just said she bumped it.
Oh, she bumped it. No, so we think it when we power cycled it, it just it reset on us. But we were recording and she's like, I think we need to stop and change cards. I'm like, we've got a 128 gig card in both cameras. Like, we shouldn't need to stop for hours now. She's like, it's red. The record time's red. Like it's almost out of time. It's like, what?
Okay, so Night of Anger is asking what does recorded in RAW mean, and I think there's got to be at least more than one person who doesn't know what that means and just doesn't want to ask.
Okay, so raw. Let's go look at this. 50 Shades holding cam 2 roll 1. Okay, so a compressed format or a containered format, like so this clip right now that I'm showing in Finder is a container format. So this is ProRes. So this is a ProRes video clip, and it behaves just the same as, you know, kind of what you're used to thinking about for any given, you know, video file. Raw is, let's give this a sec. Raw gives you a folder full of frames. So this right here is Cam2 2018 0518 1248 clip 0001, and it is 233 frames. Where's the big one? Okay, here's the big one. So yeah, so our main recording was 26. No, maybe is it this one? Yeah, there we go. So the main bulk of the recording that we did for the first half of the 50 Shades video is just a folder with 52,026 files in it.
What is the, okay, so that said, what is the use? Like, what's the purpose? What does that facilitate? Like, why would you want to record it? Like, why would you want raw files?
Okay, so every so raw is less compressed. In fact, in theory, it's uncompressed, or if it is so raw is basically just a straight dump of the information from the sensor. So it's not an image. It's just data.
Right.
If you don't have pixels, you just have information points. You just have an information grid that then needs to be interpreted in order to actually be an image. Like if we went in and looked at these DNG files, like we actually looked at them, they're just a pile of data.
Okay.
Now this used to be a lot more of a problem. Like raw images have been a thing for long enough now that like operating systems kind of know how to like work with them so that they actually kind of look like something, and so that they're actually like usable without needing like lots of plugins in order to actually tell things what things are, what raw is. But so you it's basically just a straight data dump from the sensor. That's why it's raw. It's raw information, which means that you have essentially the maximum flexibility in what you're going to do with that image. So at really high levels, this can get down to people writing their own like debayering algorithms in order to sort of maximize it.
Terms like debayering, because you're gonna have to explain that too.
I'm gonna have to explain debayering. Okay, so camera sensors, so single sensor cameras, so whether that's like CMOS or CCD, what they use is like, so they're a grid of pixels. They're a roster, German word for grid, roster. They're a grid of pixels, or well, actually, they're a grid of stencils that each one collects is basically specifically tuned for either red, green, or blue. So
Right.
each stencil is either red, green, or blue, and there are twice as many green pixels as there are red or blue pixels.
Oh yeah,
Stencils.
this was part of the talk when we were talking about camera noise or whatever. Our chat was the night you had H-bomb on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Raster, raster,
Yeah.
raster.
Yeah, it's an
I say
A, not an
rast.
O. It's not
Yeah.
like a game roster.
It's a raster.
That's not me giving you shit. That was me like
Yeah.
spelling it for the chat.
So Bayering is basically it's called a Bayer pattern, named after a dude named Bayer who developed it. Is basically it's a way of distributing these red, green, blue stencils in a way that's going to kind of like maximize visual information, like useful information. It's fine. It's essentially trying to find that sweet spot between reducing information, because it's like, well, we're actually, each color channel is now not even necessarily a third, because you have twice as many, so it's like red and blue are a quarter of the total pixel information and green is half of it. Actually, no, that's not, because it's twice as many as either. So it's, yeah, no, it's about, so green is about half, and then red and blue are each about a quarter of the total visual information. And so in theory, well, not in theory, in actual practice, like that resolution, like the resolution of red is much lower than the resolution of green, right?
Yeah.
And so you're basically trading off this individual color channel resolution for sort of, that's lowering your data rate and your data load, because the alternative is actually like a 3 CCD setup, or like a 3 sensor setup where each sensor is like just red, just green, just blue, which is better. It gives you a higher quality thing. But yeah, so there's all kinds of like trade-offs going to sort of reduce cost, reduce complexity, but also not sacrifice quality more than is acceptable, if that all makes sense. So then how a actual image comes to be, it needs to go through a de-Bayering process. So you need to take that Bayer pattern and interpret it, and it uses things like, nearest neighbor, and there's a bunch of different sort of ways of going about figuring out what any given pixel should look like based on, its relationship to the ones next to it. And some of these processes are better than others, and some people really, really like to get down into the nitty gritty and figure out their own algorithm for debayering, and it can get wild.
Well then, sounds like a crazy time.
Yeah, it's
I bet I know what goes down in the hotels at
no, not that kind of wild. Not that kind of wild. It's just it's
everyone
just
in their
absurd.
hotel rooms talking about their own personal debayering pattern.
Man, no, it's exhausting. But so that's what raw is. And just to make it even more confusing, because I'm like, raw is uncompressed. Well, there is such a thing as compressed raw. However, compressed raw doesn't use image compression, it uses data compression. So like a zip file. It is a zip file.
I like when I propose a way of like how I'm relating things, like an explanation, like, oh, is it like this? And you're like, yes, that's exactly that. Like, that makes me feel really smart.
Like, it literally, in fact, if you have compressed containered raw, it's literally just like, it's actually just a zip file. It's just a special like a zip file with a special suffix, like extension, that that tells certain programs what it is, but you could still just open it in like WinZip, and WinZip would unpack it just fine.
Wow. That's swanky.
So yeah.
Okay, so now that we've explained what raw and debayering is, let's continue.
Okay, so with the 50 Shades stuff, one of the main complications that we wound up running into, well, one, the raw stuff was huge, but two, raw and ProRes, like in camera, have different sensitivities because raw has a wider gamut. It contains more information, but so that changes the exposure profile ever so slightly. So we were actually even though we were set to the same t-stop on both cameras, the stuff recorded in raw on camera 2 is off by about a third of a stop.
Well then, that's terrible.
And then also, because we did a 2-camera setup, all of this now needs to be synced, and we have external sound.
Right.
So let's get started. So the first thing that we're gonna want to do is, well, let's just find, actually, start timecode, end timecode. Oh yeah, there it is, duration. 36 minutes. Okay, so there's our main bit that we're gonna start with. Now this actually has the audio from the recorder patched through to it. So the audio goes into the recorder, gets recorded, but then loops through to the camera. So it's already in sync on the camera 1 footage. So the camera 2 footage just needs to be synced with that. Now we do have the raw, and you know what? Let's go ahead and actually use the raw. It matches up with this, so that's 1300. Wait. Oh, 48, 12. Oh, 1259. There it is. And or speed up.
A and B and audio. Clap, please. A and B and audio.
All right. Well, I heard a sync clap, and where is it? We're gonna zoom in.
A and B and audio. Clap, please. A and B.
There. All right. There's our clap. There's our slate. So we're just gonna treat that as our slate and find it on the other track.
Damn, why don't you use an actual clapboard?
I couldn't find it.
Oh, you have one.
I have one. We spent about 20 minutes looking for it, but I can't remember where I put it. I moved it, and it was like, wait, I think it's out in the trunk of my car, honestly. But it was raining, so I was like, I'm not gonna go out and get it. Okay, so that should give us a history lesson. Master of the Universe is a 2009 through 2011 serial Twilight fan fiction written by Erica Mitchell under the pen name Snow Queen's Ice Dragon and collected into 2 volumes. In this alternate universe, Bella Swan is... Alright, good. Okay, they're in sync. What?
I said yay.
Yay. Yay. All right. Both of these, talking doesn't actually happen until here. So we'll just... Also, I'm using the wrong things. Okay. All right, history lesson. Master of the Universe is a 2009 through 2011 serial Twilight fanfic. Right, history lesson. Oh, did I... What's my... I need to remember what my key bindings are, because they're going to be different than they are in Premiere. And also is... What's my cut all tracks simultaneously? I don't remember. I don't remember what my cut all tracks simultaneous is. It nope. Edit, cut, ripple cut. Is it X? No, that's not the cut that I'm gonna want. I want a... Though also, actually, one of the things that we should maybe... Where did... Alright, timeline. We need to... Okay, timeline 1, we're going to rename to primary. We're going to, move it into a place where it's actually, like, good. And we're going to change its name to primary edit. And primary edit, we're going to now change to... where is this? Multi-track, multi... no. Yeah. No, now we... Okay, sorry. Timeline, new timeline from... Create new timeline using selected clips. Timeline. Oh, I undid the name. All right, it's just timeline 2 now. Whatever. Okay, timeline 2. No.
So what are timelines?
A.
Like, what's the function of having multiple timelines?
So the function of having multiple timelines. Edit. Multicam. Why can't I remember how to do this? So multiple timelines allow you to do a lot of things. That probably sounds like a cop-out, but it really does allow you to do a lot of things. So one of the things that you can do with the timeline is you can take a snapshot of the way that your project exists at any given moment. So with the original 50 Shades edit, since it was such a long and involved process that was going to involve potentially dramatic editing and like alterations to just the large scale structure of the project, when I reached significant milestones, I would then duplicate into a new timeline so that I always had a stable version to go back to. So that it's like...
So if you wanted to edit something and like royally fucked it up, you could go back.
So what I did was I went through, and so I had all of the synced footage, and I went through and I cut basically just for audio. So like trimmed everything down, removed all of the dead space, removed all of the bad takes, got everything rearranged, because there was a few things that we like thought of later, like, oh man, I should insert this line earlier, and so we recorded it at like the end, so like you get those into position. And so there's no change, like the camera angles haven't been chosen yet. It's just everything has been trimmed down. And so once I reached that point, I then split it. so that it's like, okay, no matter how bad I screw this up, I can go back to this point and will save myself like literally 6 hours of potentially needing to redo this, or who knows how long it could take me to undo any damage that I might do to it
Right.
by just getting like completely scrambled. Another thing that it allows you to do is you can create complex sequences and then apply effects uniformly to them. So for example, I had a couple of the places where there's the montage of all of the like book close-ups, but there's also all of the audio that goes along with that. So one of them, the montage of reading or of like negotiating the coffee shop is actually like 15 different audio files and 2 different video files, because it's 2 different pages of the book.
Oh yeah.
And so it was,
and you gave them to us script-wise as like sections that you were going to use. Like you didn't just give us 3 pages to read. It was like, read this part and this part and this part. So
well,
they all
for
files.
yeah, so for that one, that was the only one where I'm just like, all right, here you guys go. There's like 2 straight pages to just read. But then because I knew I was then going to, in editing, trim it down using crossfades. Like I had planned on doing that, but so I needed you to like read far more than I was going to use, specifically so that the crossfades would actually like work. And also because I wasn't sure, it wasn't until I knew that I wasn't going to know what I would be happy with until I was in editing and could actually like listen to it and like find the rhythm. And it's like, all right, so I'm asking you guys to read kind of twice as much as what I'm going to use. It's not a huge ask. It's not like I asked you to read the entire book or an entire chapter.
No, it's not like you made me say one of the worst things ever written.
We'll get to that. But so what that lets me do, so I then edited all of that into a single timeline, and that would actually be a good one to recreate. So we're going to create a new timeline, and we're going to call it book, or coffee scene. Okay, so coffee scene is, now none of this footage has been logged, unfortunately, but so all of the book excerpts were on roll 3. Coffee is going to be, all right, we know your capacity for alcohol. Okay, this is all later in the book. I put down my pen. Finished. Okay, here we go. Christian Grey has asked me to go to coffee with him. All right, so what we need with this is we need the whip pan. So what we actually did here is we shot it backwards and then reversed the footage. So that's actually the start of the second shot, and we go down to Christian Grey has asked me to go for coffee with him. Stop there. So there's our in and out point. Okay, we're going to take that. We're going to drop it down. I didn't actually need the audio at all, so I'm just going to grab the video. Okay, now this is actually our second part. So we're going to change clip speed and we're going to reverse speed. So now it's going backwards. So it starts with the whip. Oh, was that, did I hear a ghost?
I just put Hangouts on my phone.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Oh my God. Where did you come from?
We haven't talked in weeks because you've been
gone forever.
Gone.
I have the worst jet lag. I go to bed at like 9 p.m. and wake up at 5:30.
Get ready to fix it literally to like the day before you leave again.
Yeah, I haven't been able to. I was going to stream like all week before I left, and I haven't been able to because I have a productive jet lag. Oh God.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good actually. I'm going to put my computer on now. Oh.
All right, there's the start of it. In, out. I also don't need the audio again. No, come on.
I'm going to join for real in a sec. Okay.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Right.
Okay, so we haven't reinterpreted the footage. So there's our all right, I'm really really happy with how well this transition worked. So the whip pan is an in-camera transition effect where basically when you hit the moment that you then want the transition to be, you just whip the camera in a direction super fast. And then on the receiving shot, you repeat the motion in going along the same axis of action, but kind of in reverse. So you open with it and then land on the spot. In this case, because it's all MOS and it's just close-ups of a book, we're not dealing with like actor action or anything. We did it in reverse, which is why I needed to reverse that other footage.
So you did it at the end both times, but then the second one you reversed the footage?
Basically, we kind of sort of it makes sense in my head and it looks fine on camera. But so what we did for these book things, so here's the transition, is even though these are different pages and they're opposite of each other, we just whip up, and when we stop, we're at the top of the next page. So here we are at the bottom of page 38, go down and then whip up page 39. It's a great technique that has been in existence for over a century. It is a transition effect that is over a century old, and it's still it's just used judiciously. It's so good. It's such an effective transition that I think has been like woefully underused in modern times. You only really see it in like comedy these days, and but it can be so effective. Actually, if you watch the music video for Riptide by how did I just forget the name? If you watch the music video,
that one.
Yeah, that one. If you watch the music video, they have a moment where they use a whip pan. They use like two whip pans in a row, so like a whip pan in and a whip pan out, to shoot like three scenes in a row. That it is obvious that what they had done was just set up the camera in one spot and then had people like stand in front of it, and then they like, so the camera never moves aside, like it never physically changes its position on the beach. They just change the actors that are standing in front of it. But this effect is so, like, the whip pan is so effective that it feels like the camera is like just shooting like 50 feet to the left every time they do it.
It's also used really well when you want to create that illusion of like a continuous shot.
Yeah.
Like if you do it really, really well, you can make people wonder if you did a continuous shot and someone like just walked in front, or like you opened a door and like walked past it or something.
Sinidia asks, does this technique necessitate having to reverse footage, or could you just match the direction of the whip pan in both shots? You're right. Yes, you can just match the whip pan. In fact, you should just match the whip pan, the direction of the whip pan in both shots. The reason we reversed the footage here is because it was easier to get the timing right.
I also feel like whipping into them and like focus really tight on the small little book page would be hard.
Yeah, so like it was just easier for us to whip at the end of the move. Like, so it's like, okay, we're gonna slowly do this and then we're gonna whip, versus because we're so close on the book that it's like we want the whip pan to land like pin perfect at the top of the book, right? We want that the moment this whip pan stops, it's like pin perfect. Top of the book, 50 Shades of Grey, page 39, are they based at the university? Like, we need that to be the landing frame. And when you're this close up, like with a macro lens, it's really, really hard to nail that. So it's a lot easier to do the slow part up to your landing frame and then do the whip. And then whip out of your landing frame and reverse it so that it looks like you're whipping into the landing frame. So that's the challenge. That was the challenge there. If you're dealing with a much like wider scene where you can whip in and be like, just close, that it's like, okay, we just, because the thing is that the actual camera move we're doing, the lens is so long that the camera is only moving a couple inches. Like the difference the difference in angle between like looking at the top of the book and looking at the bottom is like maybe like 8 degrees of rotation. Like it is not a big move at all. And so because of that, it's like small changes, like being off by like half a degree is huge. Whereas if you're doing a actually big scene where your whip pan is going to be like a 90-degree move, okay, well, if you go 91, you've still got basically like you have your correct framing, right?
Right.
It's more about landing it on a good hard land and not like overshooting and over like, not going past it and then overcorrecting. You don't want it like so that kind of thing. So
like if you have a wider, range, only going, it's like 1 out of 90 as far as degrees is more acceptable than like 1 out of.
Yeah. You've got more room to be close, to be near enough. So it was purely because of the macro footage that it made it so difficult to get that landing properly. And since the landing is so important in the visuals of what we're doing, it was better to do it all in reverse.
I'm having flashbacks now talking about whip pans because I was in a small project in Pennsylvania, shot in Pennsylvania, that was all improvised handheld camera stuff, like a Blair Witch Project type thing. And the guy wanted to be able to like edit together any of the takes in any way. And we shot it all in the woods. And so he was like, at the end of everything and at the beginning of everything, just like shake the camera around so that he could like put any shaky camera bit into any other shaky camera bit that they would like seem like a continuous thing. And it was hell. It was hell trying to shoot that. So good job. Good job with your whip pans.
So I came in the middle of that, but I'm assuming what you said is for all the pans directly to some text that you do it backwards.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So
did you edit
for
this whole thing
for the second page? No, I didn't. I debated it, but then it was such a big project that I was like, I need the speed of familiarity. But I am debating starting to cut smaller stuff on it and saving myself like $600 a year.
Wow, yeah, that's a good point. Also, I mean, can't you, if you wanted, do it all in like Premiere and then export like the XML and like import that into DaVinci and then do more stuff in there?
I was actually that was a thing that I considered doing, was doing all of the finishing in Resolve. Like I had debated it, doing all like exporting the EDL and then finishing in Resolve. Like I was just about to do it, and then but it was taking like I wound up falling like a day behind in sort of like where I wanted to be in the edit. Otherwise I probably would have at least given it a try for 5-6 hours. because I've never done a full round trip like that on my own work. But yeah, so I wound up just staying in Premiere because I was like a day behind. And yeah, okay, so we've got this stuff. So now we need sound. So we need oh man, none of this is logged. Okay, so like literally the first day of editing for this 50 Shades project was all just logging. It was just renaming all of this stuff. So
You know, Anastasia, it's been a weekend of firsts
it was
for
worth
me
it.
too.
Don't say it like it was a waste of time.
oh no, logging like
It's
this
clear to
was
everyone.
this was impossible
I remember how
without
happy
logging. Like I mean, like look at this. Like this is just the folder of Mike's readings. There's
Oh my god.
yeah.
I just saw how many readings Mike did. Jeez, I give people like 2 audio files when I give them like 1 file with 2 readings in it.
Okay, so what Mike wound up doing is every single line, so even if it was part of like the same reading, each line was a separate file, and then each line had between 4
Which for him,
and
that made
7
sense,
takes.
though, because all of his dialogue was
Yeah, because
like
he was just doing
separated
dialogue.
by me.
Yeah.
So like it did make sense, but so it wound up creating a lot of files, and so I had to go through.
Anna, before yesterday, I'd never had
And
blueberry
then
before.
Mike
classic Booberry
Matt,
line.
meant Dan was like, "This is nice, Crystal. Also, you do this." So then I did every take, every line.
Wow.
Although it wasn't every line. It was like every chunk. So like each bit between other sections. And then I left space between sentences in case he wanted to like put in different takes.
All right, I need to go look at the script so I can find what I'm looking for here. Okay, 50 Shades readings. Okay, he's on the Booberry line, and he did them all in order, which made it actually really easy to log. But so the Booberry line was... Okay, Booberry, right, Booberry is right after... Okay.
Dan, this is absolutely ridiculous.
Dan, this is absolutely ridiculous. I love it. All right. Oh, you guys, right. Hangouts can't hear the audio anymore. So chat is going to get to hear the line that the gag that didn't make it into the Christian Grey gag, the Christian Grey gag that didn't make it into the finished cut, which is
I don't date. I hang
That's some
out.
shit.
I don't date. I hang out. I don't date.
Which is
I don't date, I hang out.
Oh yeah, that was great. Oh yeah.
Oh.
I ghost wrote that.
I don't date.
Oh
don't-
wow.
I don't date. I don't.
It's really good.
There.
I
Now,
was
can
so
you do
sad.
it for coffee?
How many jokes you leave on the cutting room floor? Like when I think of a joke, I hold on to it forever because I don't
This
have
was an
any.
accident, to be honest.
Well, so yeah, there was a couple late
night
jokes.
before.
Yeah, there were a couple late jokes that just didn't that got forgotten by the time, because it was like I went through the script very literally, and so there was 2 or 3 late additions that were like, okay, I want these, I will figure out exactly where to put them later, and then didn't. Yeah. Okay, so here's one of Mike's lines. Okay.
There.
You should
Now,
play at
can you
the
join me
end,
for
like
coffee?
when you're done actually doing productive
There.
things. You should
Now, can-
play everybody
There.
the
Please, can
the
you drive the
various
photographer?
like Mike chuckling and then me with the semi truck toot And then what was the other one? Oh, the one where I was doing my warm up and you ended up getting it, and I was like, holy crap, holy shit, double crap, oh my gosh.
Home. Please, can
All right. Yeah, mic on track 2. I'm just grabbing the first
please can you
takes
Please,
I
can you-
find of everything.
Taylor can take them.
Taylor can take them.
Taylor can take them. Taylor can take them. Taylor can take. Are they based at the university?
Are they based at the university? Move all of this down because we're actually working backwards here.
Are they based? Are they Taylor?
Taylor. Oh,
Taylor.
My Premiere still has that
Taylor?
problem where
Taylor. Taylor.
if I touch the scroll wheel in any way, I can't actually
I wondered
do
if you
anything
would-
else for like a full second, and it's really annoying.
I wondered if you would join me for because you overthink.
okay. There we go. All right, we got there's all of Mike's stuff. All right, Crystal, you named yours. Yours were already named. I didn't need to log them.
I know,
It's great.
I'm really professional and awesome.
All right, so
Mhm.
page 38, 39, gray, page, I think they're all just actually under 39, and we'll just take 39, 3, and we'll just grab the entire thing. And you can be audio track 1.
Me, I'm
Nice.
number 1.
Your audio track 1. And then Lindsay is literally just all right, hers are later, and Mikey is also like just a single thing. So
So card games on Samboni's asked if Lindsay said more than Y in this video, and yeah, she actually did
she
record. I think
did.
she had
You'll
3
get to hear
That's
her whole thing.
Oh yeah, you can play like the
My heart
whole 2
slams into my
pages for
mouth.
everybody.
A date? Christian Grey is asking me.
I'm
on
beginning
a
to think
date?
all those dog barking noises you made me yell were just for your own.
Oh, I
entertainment.
didn't even import them. They're not even in the like project folder. Those are on an external drive.
Those are on the special hard drive, if you know what I mean, Harris.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, I'm actually gonna have to like hide OBS because I need to read the script. Okay. I wondered if you would join me for coffee this morning. So that's actually the first line, and we don't want to screw up the audio actually. So
I wondered if you would join
I'm
me for
genuinely
coffee
shocked.
this
Like I've
morning.
not actually seen the version, the bit of DaVinci that looks like an actual editor. Like I've not actually seen this screen before. I'm reeling from the fact that it does in fact look like an editing program. Oh gosh.
Is it because you just normally have seen just the big black empty space?
I'm normally in the
That happens
like,
when you open it.
coloring. I'm normally in the mode where it's like, here's how you do all the coloring, but it has this. It
Also,
has the audio
What
thing.
are-
Like,
You're saying Da Vinci.
yeah.
So what's Da Vinci and what's Resolve and how are they related?
I'm using the names interchangeably. I think I thought that's just its full name and it's an unwieldy name.
yeah, so
But
the
it
full
might actually be-
name is DaVinci Resolve because
All right, that's
DaVinci because DaVinci used to be a separate company. So in the same
That's
way
right,
that it's
yeah.
like Microsoft Windows, but then imagine if Microsoft got bought out by another company, and so they just changed the full name to Microsoft Windows instead of it
Yeah.
being Microsoft trademark Windows registered trade. Yeah. So
it's like when there's a company called Macromedia used to make Flash, and then Adobe bought them. So there was this one
one version that
where
was
the names-
Macromedia Flash.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's basically interchangeable. That's the full name.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
confused because Dan has only ever said Resolve, and I didn't know that. Like, what's the
Yeah. Oops. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it's actually funny. Like now that two other companies, now that Fairlight and Fusion have been rolled into it, they should just call it like DaVinci, and so it would be like Media, Edit, Fusion, Resolve, Fairlight, Deliver.
Mhm.
That it's like here down at the bottom, we're collecting other companies as little totems and putting them as tabs at the bottom of the yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. Like
My
something
heart
that's kind of
slams.
frustrating with a lot of like Adobe stuff is you have to move between programs to use it, whereas Resolve just has other programs in it.
Yeah, it's
so is DaVinci the company, and Resolve is like one of the functions then?
DaVinci was the original company that made Resolve. Then
Okay.
Blackmagic bought DaVinci like in its entirety, and so they called the product DaVinci Resolve in order to keep the branding bridge to the
Sure.
old company. So that, I mean, because you got to keep in mind that their existing their existing customers at the time of the buyout were people who spent 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on a coloring workstation.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's like, oh no, yeah. And now that now they've bought Fairlight and Fusion, and they're just rolling them in. They're just calling it, yeah.
So what
They're-
are those?
So Fairlight is a digital audio workstation, and Fusion is compositing software.
So Resolve is like this part, the video bits.
Well, now Resolve is the whole thing. It used to be Resolve, like, okay, actually, Resolve used to just be coloring like finishing software. So it was just color. It was like it was basically just color and like final export or digital intermediate export, like print to tape kind of thing, like really kind of obtuse high end industrial applications. And then Blackmagic, after they bought it, like actually after a few versions, like it wasn't until like Resolve 7 that they then, well, it was like Resolve 4 and 5, they started to put in a bunch more stuff with like, really building more workflow stuff into it. And then 7, they put in an editing panel. They're like, hey, it's now a nonlinear editor. And then over a couple versions up to like 8 and 9, they started like really beefing that up. And then 11 and 12, it actually sort of started to look like it does now. Like it wasn't just like, oh, well, you can kind of technically build a timeline. It actually became like a full featured nonlinear editor. And then 14, they added Fairlight. 15, they added Fusion. Yeah.
So are those roughly equivalent to like After Effects and Audition?
Audition, yeah.
Yeah. That's one
They're,
thing
like,
I've seen
all
people
all-
doing, like doing audio work in Audition where like the video is playing as like a preview in the corner, but I've never managed to get that setup working out.
You
But it
have
seems
to,
really good.
yeah. So the best way of getting to that point is to you go into Audition and then you open your Premiere project. So like you get like
Oh.
file open the Premiere project, and then it'll actually like put the so then it'll be like pick which timeline you want to actually work on. You grab your timeline, and then it'll actually have the video preview properly working. If you try to get that in literally any other way, it is a huge nightmare.
Oh, jeez.
So like the only way to make that work is to use not their program.
Well, no, because they're meant to so it's having the video sync in Audition, because Audition isn't really meant for that. So the only way, the easiest way to get the video sync working properly in Audition is to open a Premiere file.
Oh, you were talking about Audition. I thought you were talking about. I thought he said he saw people using this to do audio stuff. and
Oh
you
no.
didn't work on it. I was like, that's confusing.
Like basically all
Do
of
my math.
Adobe's programs do things differently enough that you basically need a separate program to do them with.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I mean, this was actually, and they put a lot of work into their what's it called, the Adobe Media Server,
Yeah.
where basically your computer runs a server in the background that shares media files with all of the open applications.
Which was like
And
a big, huge
it
thing
was a
about
big
cloud.
deal. Yeah, well, so at the time it was a really big deal because it would be like, it's like, okay, if you were working on something in Premiere and you had a Photoshop file that you maybe wanted to include, well, you would actually need to go into Photoshop and like export a finished version of it. Like you couldn't just drop a Photoshop file into Premiere. And if you tried to do it while the other one was open, it would just, like if you had an image open in Photoshop and then tried to use it in Premiere, it would spit an error and say like, hey, this is in use right now, I can't touch that file. So so the media server enabled Adobe programs to share files that were currently in use. So they're not being used by Premiere and Photoshop. They're being used by the media server, and then Premiere and Photoshop are grabbing them from there, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Okay, right. I
And
just opened my Skyrim April Fool's Day video, and yeah, all the tracks are here in Audition, and there's also a preview window. That's cool.
yeah,
So, when I save, does that save the changes to the original project, or?
it will you should be able to go through and do all of your audio stuff, and then when you go back to Premiere, what you'll have is a whole bunch, like all of your audio will have changed to be render and replace.
Right, I see.
So it's the same as if you were in Premiere and you like right clicked on your like camera footage and went to like edit in Audition, and then it would do that like rendering and replacing, and then opens Audition and pulls up that version of the file. So that's actually the big work that it's doing when you first open it, is it's basically rendering and replacing everything. So what Adobe's ecosystem lets you do is you can actually you can create a vector in Illustrator, plant that vector, that AI file, directly into a Photoshop file, plant that Photoshop file into a Premiere project, and then if you go all the way back to the Illustrator file and change things, it will, if everything works properly, propagate all the way down the chain.
Yeah, yeah. All the way.
Now, that specific example is likely to break just because of the way that, like, if you import it into Photoshop improperly, like if you don't import it as a live object, then that would break the chain. But so I should have actually used a different example. I should have used like, okay, well, you take an Photoshop object and you put it into After Effects, then After Effects into Premiere. Though I will note that if you do all of this, your computer will choke and it will die.
Oh no.
This is actually how I originally did the season 3 intro. It was like all of these looping parts. So you had Premiere files that were dropped into After Effects, and then After Effects files that were dropped back into Premiere, into different Premiere files. And so like it was this whole, and then there was like all of these Illustrator vectors that were in there as well, and just all of this stuff. And yeah, I tell you what, for the first couple times, what I was doing is I would just grab that Premiere project file, so like the project file itself, drop it into the episode project file, and like grab the specific timeline and then place that. And every single time I went to render an episode, it took like 15 minutes just to re-render the title sequence.
Yeah.
And after a couple times of that, I was like, you know what? Given that this stuff is going on blip at some weird resolution. It was like 737 by 362 because Blip was weird. It's like, you know what? With all of the compression that's going on here, I probably don't actually need the like full quality re-render every single time. I can probably just create a compressed version that I then use and drop into place. Oh wait, no. That was the other problem, is because I was applying the text effect to the episode title every time.
Yeah.
So I couldn't just create one version. So what I wound up doing was I would go into After Effects, change the title, and then just render out a version of that, just so that I didn't have the 15-minute render at the end. It was a good idea, but it was a nightmare. It was in theory a good idea, but it was not actually a good idea. Don't have crazy text effects that you apply, like that uniformity. I liked that uniformity that I used to have, but boy, did it take me a lot of time.
Also, there's the thing of like transparency. Like if your video titles go over your footage, then you have to, like, even if you were to just render out a normal opening thing, you would then have to render out a specific version that works with transparency.
Version with transparency, and
huge pain. Yeah,
I mean that wouldn't be as big of pain, because that would still at least give you the once it's done, it's done.
Yeah, my like I have that for me. Like my opening, it has transparency and stuff, like because it slides over
a date.
What's behind it, but it's like a 300 megabyte file or something, and it doesn't play properly until it's rendered.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, a date. He's asking me.
Christian Grey is asking.
Date.
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 So to avoid having to use the scroll wheel anymore, I just got a jog wheel. So now there's a fucking wheel on my desk.
A date. Christian
Yellow
Grey
wheel?
is asking.
Yeah, it's a little wheel. It's a little spinny wheel. It makes a clicky noise.
Oh, so for the chat. So now I'm using. This is what I should be using. Is I should be alternating between blade and trim right now. So Crystal, when she did her reading, put in a lot of big long pauses to help me with timing. But so now those pauses need to be timed.
Asking me on a date.
So
God, I was
blade,
so fucking
cut,
accommodating.
T, trim.
Date. He's asking if you want coffee.
He's asking if you want. Oh, this is actually a big long version. So everybody else's stuff needs to go way down.
Want coffee. Maybe he thinks you haven't woken up yet.
I did get you to say subconscious on camera. My subconscious whines at me in a sneering mood, but I
hated that one. But what I hated more than that was the fact that I read through the whole script when you first sent it to me. I was like, oh, thank God he didn't send me any of the bullshit about my inner goddess. I was so excited. And then the night before, like you just shot the video, and apparently we're like, oh, I want to use something else in this spot. I'm going to have Crystal read another thing, and sent me an addition one. And it was one that had me saying fucking my inner goddess. And I was so forsaken. I was like, no. And no. I escaped
my
this
subconscious
fate for
whines
so
at me
long.
in a sneering mood again.
And then what fucking twisted the knife in my back was that you made me do it, and then you forgot to add it into the video.
I did. I forgot.
This was one of the most ultimate this was a double whammy Dan betrayal, you guys.
And the best part about it was that the video had been up for about 12 hours, and I was just sitting there playing World of Warcraft, relaxing a little bit, and then it was like a cold chill just ran from the top of my head to my toes as I realized I had
It was me
forgotten
cursing.
to add it.
It was me cursing
Oh.
with all of my magic girl, witchy, manic pixie dream
I
girl
have to
power.
drive everyone home.
Just every ounce of my being
I murmur
cursing you
apologetically, twisting
from
my hands
across
and fingers in front of
2
me.
countries
Hmm.
for making me say it and then
From
not
me.
even using it.
Oh my
Taylor.
god. Adam
From
Adam
me.
Wingard is directing Godzilla vs Kong.
What?
Yeah.
Who? What?
Adam Wingard.
Taylor.
Good director. It's good.
Calls.
Really excited
Can you
about
jump?
it? You sound like you're having an oh heck moment.
Yeah, Godzilla and Kong Skull Island are both like really good, and Adam Wingard is one of my
Taylor,
favorite
who had been
directors.
retreating-
Oh my god! Yay!
Down the corridor, turns and heads
I'm
back
done now. I'm sorry.
toward us.
Godzilla vs Kong: Dawn of Fight.
Are they based at the university?
Are they based at the
Godzilla
university?
v Kong, rather. That's the correct formatting of that joke. Adam Wingard has done a lot of good movies, but then he did the Death Note
Based at
movie,
the
which is
university.
also good, and like nobody likes it. So
I still haven't watched it. I should watch it. I actually have.
Gray asks, his voice soft.
I like
and
if you're
inquiring.
familiar with the manga and/or anime, it's a fascinating adaptation. Like
Yeah, I think I'll really enjoy it because I largely enjoy Death Note intellectually more than having any actual like stake. You know, it does like it's not like Death Note was important to my teen self. It's like I mean, I was in the target demographic when it came out, and I just didn't care.
Death Note was important to me in a
I
period
nod,
growing up,
too
and then I
stunned to speak.
quickly grew out of it. You know, it's the period where Rick and Morty really hits people now,
Yeah,
and like that's the comparison I'm going to draw. Even, but like the movie is very much like here is what that person would actually be like, and they're not very good. It's I quite like it, but
Taylor can take them. He's my driver.
jeez. Oh yeah, he also did the Blair Witch thing, which I haven't seen and might be bad.
Mr. Gray?
All right, there's one of Mikey's 2 lines. Mr. Gray. Taylor asks when he reaches us, giving nothing away.
What would he give away?
Like
I
it's
hate
supposed to.
that line.
He's so mysterious.
You
He's
don't
so
understand-
mysterious,
I don't
Crystal.
understand how many times I read that line, like
Mr. Gray.
in my head and out loud, trying to figure out how to read it.
Like what it's
Because I had
supposed to.
no
be.
idea what
Taylor
it meant.
asks when he reaches
Like
us,
I
giving
was like
nothing away.
giving what, and then in the end, I just decided, like I'm just gonna read it like he does have something to give away. Like obviously she thinks he does. I don't know what the fuck it is, but
This whole like, oh man. I mean, I was really like, this gag was a lot of work to set up and make happen, but I think it was worth it just for like pointing out how like what the hell is going on in this like it's just it keeps going. It's like he asks her out for coffee and then it's like a page just to get to that point. It's like, oh, the driver's going down the hall and then he needs to turn around and come back.
oh yeah.
And then it's like he'll drive him the 4x4 and it's like no, it's fine. And I think this is like the one bit. I think this is the one bit where E.L. James knew, like she's like, no, he can't see her junky car. I think she had already planned in her head that at some point he was going to buy her a car, because in Twilight that's actually that's what happens later on, is the Cullens buy Bella a sports car that's so a Porsche that's so awesome it doesn't actually exist. And so James already had that Snow Queen's ice dragon already had that in her mind, that she was going to like replicate that. But so she had this thing where she's like, okay, Edward can't see Bella's rusty old Beetle until later, because it needs to be this moment where he's like, what, you drive that? And so there's all these weird like hoop jumping moments in the front half of the first book where, like, just to avoid Anna driving her own car. And also, can I just say, it's like super stupid that she needs to borrow Kate's, like, Kate drives a sedan. Anna drives a Beetle. There is no way that they could fit all of that stuff into Anna's car, but not Kate's. Like, if you could get all of their equipment and two extra people into the car and here, Kate's car can handle it. She drives a sedan. Like, it'll fit. It fit in your car. It'll fit in hers.
He also does the same thing though with, like, you were talking about, you made a comment on it in the video about how, like, at the bar scene, it describes like literally every step she takes from like the table to the bathroom.
Then she goes into the bathroom. Then she pees. Then she washes her hands. Then like, it's every step.
It's like, just get to the action. That was one of those chapters, she wrote when she was like, oh God, I haven't posted fast enough.
Yeah.
I gotta post something.
Please, can you drive the photographer, his assistant and Miss Kavanagh back home?
Certainly, sir.
Certainly, sir.
That line with all those Oxford commas is like, that's just, you could have on Something Awful. You described this as like fan fiction, effectively. Like, the author basically treats the craft as just like this fluid medium that doesn't require technique.
Yeah,
and
Taylor replies.
It's how it comes off in this.
Taylor replies. There, now you okay. Where are we at?
There. Now
Gray
can you join me for
smiles,
coffee?
as if
Is the driver taking one person home?
Two people,
but
well,
yeah.
but then he doesn't take anyone home, because Christian offers to let Taylor take them home in the 4x4. Like, I assume he, like, in an SUV. And Anna's like, no, I can't let you have your employee drive my friends home. So I will jump through all of these hoops to just the movie. I mean, that change, like, I stand by that change. Like, just, it's like, look, this entire, like, this entire exchange can just be cut down to,
he wants
me to go for coffee. Like, just, it's like, hey, Anna, do you want to go for coffee with me? Yeah, let me just tell everyone that, or even, like, maybe it's like, well, I need to drive people home. It's like, Taylor could take them. Okay. Or just screw it. Like, no, none of that. Have her ask, and then, like, have him ask, do you want to go for coffee? Have a reaction. Double break, scene break. Now they're at coffee.
Or since he's not supposed to want to go on dates anyway, have
Gray
her
smiles as
just
if it's a done
fucking
deal.
ask him. And him be like, oh no, I don't date.
I don't date. Yeah. There you go. Even because Christian doesn't date. He doesn't date, except he does because he asks
asks
women
for
out for coffee, and it's apparently not a. And this is the thing, like this is what makes reading Grey 50 Shades from Christian's point of view so hilarious, is that she
Wait,
fixes
did that
none.
actually come out?
Oh yeah,
Oh my god, I
the
didn't know it
first
actually came
the
out.
first two. I don't think
No.
Darker is definitely out. I don't think Freed is out yet. I think Freed comes out
Why?
next year.
We already know what happens. Who cares?
And so Grey has all of these moments where it's like the things that she's seen to fix are basically just giving him more angst about like asking Anna out on a date. And then she doubles down on a bunch of other stuff. So like the virgin scene where he's like freaking out over her virginity is like, you know, people point out like, hey, E.L. James, that scene's kind of like weird and creepy and abusive and manipulative. And so she triples down on it. And so now you have all of the inner monologue about how pissed off he is that she didn't tell him.
As if it's a done deal.
I got a few comments from people about the virgin scene that hearing it read made it like sink in for them, like how abusive it was. Because just reading it is like, oh, okay, well, like you're skipping over all this dumb shit anyway because you want the porn.
Deal. I frown.
I frown. There's I don't blame you for having trouble like reading a lot of this prose, because it's like, how is this supposed to sound in rhythm? There, now you can join me for coffee. Grey smiles as if it's a done deal. I frown. Well, there's all of these just like two word, like it's like I verb reactions. There's so many I verb reactions.
There was a lot of stuff in there that, like, so
I frown.
normally I would have asked you for a lot more, like, how do you want this to sound? But like, it's this book, so
it's like I don't know how.
right, you don't really know how to make it sound remotely believable. So what I just did with a lot of it was just literally read it each possible way it could be read. So like you ended up a lot of
this really,
it was about half and half. You ended up with a lot of stuff where one take was the one kind was where I said stuff like I frown like three completely different ways. And then you end up with a lot of stuff where it's like, literally, this is just like trash writing, and there's only one way to interpret or read this. So you
doesn't
got
have
like
to
the
drive them
exact
home.
same thing 3 ways.
Whoa.
Okay, Taylor doesn't have to. Okay.
Taylor doesn't have to drive them home. I flash a brief look at Taylor, who remains stoically impassive.
I'm working on like a making of video of the CAD thing, and it's like I just put all the footage I've shot that I knew would be earmarked for behind the scenes stuff on a timeline now, and I have to like edit it into something reasonable, and it was a huge mistake.
This was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I actually do like my own dialogue editing just visually. So I'll be looking at I'll just be looking at the timeline, and it's like, and I can see my pauses, and so I'll just go down and just be, it's like cut point, cut point, cut point, cut point, you know, trim, and it gets you close. It gets you into the neighborhood, which I mention it because visually that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm not actually listening to it. I'm just like, okay, there's a giant pause. We can trim out that pause.
Yeah. Do you edit by like placing all of your files on the timeline and then cutting out the bits, or do you edit like the way you're like supposed to, like in the project window and setting in and out points?
I do subtractive.
Yeah. High-fiving the microphone.
And because the thing is that I don't think they're like, part of the reason why I don't like Avid is because Avid really basically forces you into additive editing, and fights you every step of the way if you want to do subtractive editing. But I like to do subtractive editing. So because for this kind of stuff, like that's just it's faster. Like it is faster for this kind of stuff where it's like, hey, like look, I have a giant, I have what is functionally a 30-minute monologue that I need to trim out all of the garbage from.
Yeah.
It's just, this is what the trim tool is for.
Yeah.
This
It's probably
really-
different on
look,
like
Taylor doesn't have to drive
bigger
them
live
home.
action
I
projects
flash a
where
brief
you
look
want to
at
just grab a little bit of each
Taylor,
thing.
who
but
remains
for what we
stoically
do,
and
it's like throw it all in.
Yeah.
passive. I'll swap vehicles with Kate if you give me a moment. Gray smiles a dazzling, unguarded, natural, all teeth showing
How would that even
glorious
look,
smile.
doing it
He
the
opens
other
the door
way
of the suite.
for what you do? Like, how would that even possibly seem?
Oh yeah, that would just take forever. It'd be the
Oh,
worst
like
idea.
doing it additive?
Yeah.
I actually think if you got into, it wouldn't actually take as long as it might sound if you got used to it. So like what you would do, for example, is I would sit there and I would watch my big long file and it'd be like, okay, hit the beginning of a line, just like in what, like, fast forward to the end of the line, hit out, and then use the keyboard shortcut to just like drop that section right into the timeline at the end of, like, at the current playback head. And so like that's all you would do. Like you would never take your hands off the keyboard. You would just be like fast forwarding past stuff. You'd just be shuttling past stuff. And if you had a jog wheel, it would be crazy. Like it would actually be like really fast once you got used to it, because you just like find the beginning of your lines in, find the end of your line out, drop into timeline, and you just doom 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 doom. So it's kind of the exact same process of what I do, where it's like, all right, drop it all down, and then just like find the ends of sections, and then trim tool, like just chunk, 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 chunk. They're very similar processes, just kind of in reverse of each other. So it kind of comes down to like what you are used to. And so the strength of Premiere and why a lot of people prefer it is because it does have that flexibility that you can do it, additive or subtractive. Whereas like Avid really pushes you into doing things additive.
He opens the door of the suite so I can go in.
It
I scoot
sucks.
around him to re-enter the room, finding Catherine in deep
Awful.
discussion with Jose.
Avid.
Anyone who uses it is wrong.
Hot takes from Harris.
It's terrible.
Anna, I
Terrible,
think he
and
definitely
that's
likes
just the
you.
truth.
All right, there's Lindsay's first line. Definitely likes you.
And I think he definitely likes you. She says with no
Sorry, I don't know why I did that.
She says with no preamble whatsoever.
Oh God, this line. Anna, I think he definitely likes you. She says with no preamble whatsoever. It's like, what? Like, what kind of preamble would you expect? Like, that is your roommates, your friends. There is a very clear contextual. This is not a new conversation. You two have been talking about this for days. Like, what?
It's
Like,
so
what would
really bizarre.
Jose?
Yeah,
Jose glares at me with disapproval.
Like I said, in those moments where it was like, this literally makes no fucking sense, I defaulted to like, I'm gonna read it as if it does. Like,
Anna, I think he definitely
I'm
likes
just
But I
you.
don't
I'm
trust
gonna
him.
say
She
it
adds.
as if,
But I don't trust him.
like, there's no other way, because I don't know what the hell that means.
I
What
don't
does
trust
it
him.
mean, Dan?
But I don't trust him.
But I don't trust him.
She adds.
She adds. All right.
with
Right.
no
Right.
preamble
With
whatsoever.
no preamble whatsoever.
Like, what preamble would there be? Like, oh, hey, nice to see you again,
Nice to
Anna,
see.
my friend.
It's been 45 seconds.
You were
I
just
raise my
over
hand
there
up in the
talking
hope
to
that she'll stop
Christian.
talking.
How did that go?
Talking.
I also really hated reading the one where she's like, Kate is such a slut. Like,
Wow, such a slutty slut, that Kate, all like
doing the same
dancing
thing.
with a boy.
Oh, gross. She just thinks she's like such a big loose tart, and she
Really isn't.
By some miracle, she
the
does.
only person we see her with in the entire series is a long-term monogamous relationship
Kate, if you take Wanda, can I take your car?
Yeah,
With, like,
all of
with
Kate's.
a guy that both of them are legitimately serious about each other right from the beginning, unlike
Yes,
her
yes.
and Gray.
All of Kate's shall we say slattern whoring takes place off screen before the books begin, because
Yes.
the only person Kate is with during the course of the books is Elliot, who she then marries and has like 3 kids with.
But wrongly.
Yeah, she does it the wrong way.
Because
Like,
Elliot like goes snowboarding and like calls his mother.
But I don't trust him.
And okay, where are we at? Okay.
Kate, if you take Wanda, can I take your car?
Why?
No, that's not the take I used. I used the second one, the very like
Car.
Why?
why? Why do you want to take why? Yes, that is the correct why. Can I take your car? Why?
Why?
All right.
Christian
Gray
has
has asked me to go for coffee with him. Okay, there we go. After all of that, so there's our audio. There's our audio edited. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to line up the video. So Taylor, who had been retreating down the hall, turns towards
Christian
us.
Gray.
Oh my god.
I
This
have to
whole
drive
section.
everyone home.
He's walking away. Right
Taylor.
now he's walking back.
He
And then he
calls,
gives
making him
nothing
jump.
away. Like,
Taylor,
the fuck
who
would
had
he
been
give
retreating-
away? Ugh, reading this, not performing it, like not reading to record it for you, but reading it over, like trying to interpret it in order to do the audio recording, nearly gave me an aneurysm. Like, my brain was straining so hard. Cards Games on Samboni says that someone did the math, and it looks like in the books, Christian and Anna know each other for 81 days before they get married.
Oh, I have.
That is not out of the question. Dan and I were laughing. So Dan, you know how in the video Dan makes the comment of like they agree to go on a date night once a week, which never happens, by the way. And I retorted with probably because it like by the time they like fight and break up or whatever happens that stops that, it hasn't even been a week. Like they don't get to a week long. And I think we were right. I think it was like 8 days or something.
Okay, the negotiation. So in the book, it's the second negotiation where with the car and getting her drunk. So that's May 26th, and they break up on June 4th. Oh man, okay, I need to use that joke on Monday that Monday is a celebration, is the anniversary of Christian and Anna breaking up.
Oh no. Why would you do this, Dan? Why would you do this? Your whole life has become this book and movie and I don't know how to cope. I'm trying to save you, and you just don't want to be saved.
I mean, he's already done another video related to it.
I know.
It's really upsetting.
I know. I mean, I kind of feel like an enabler, you know, like I helped, and I don't know.
Wait, what do I need for my duration? 26 seconds. Okay. Flip.
I just posted a link in the chat. I'm like, now that it's the 10th anniversary of Loss, I'm changing the thumbnail of my video to be the canvas, the destroyed canvas of Loss, and I've made 2 thumbnails for it. So I thought I'd ask people to pick which one. So
I love it.
I realized I messed up the white balance on the other one, but I will.
Have you been having fun with whatever you were coloring something?
Yes. I've been playing with my trackballs, and
Trackballs.
they're fun to spin. So, yes, I've seen the new version of Loss. Happy Loss Day. I need to. It's shocking, like, just how having like better understanding of color than I used to. I can adjust the colors on something and think I didn't make that many changes, and then turn the effects off and go, oh no, this was garbage before. When I did I did a meetup when I was in Australia, and like 50 people turned up, and 2 of them took me aside and said, look, we work in TV and stuff in Australia, and we need to talk about your white balance.
Oh no.
It's a really informative conversation.
That's
They really
awesome.
just wanted to ask why I did what I did, you know. I felt like I was being interviewed after I'd committed a crime.
We need to talk about this.
Yeah.
We need to have a chat.
All right, so I've hit a bit of a stone wall because there's a thing in Resolve that is really easy to do in Premiere, and I don't quite know how to easily
Oh, what did
replicate it. So the issue is rate stretch. Is that I want to rate stretch these clips to a specific duration. And I'm not.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, there it is. It is retime controls and there we go.
Oh, cool. There we go. I've changed the thumbnail, so.
And actually, there's 2. Sorry. Now that I know how to do this, there's 2 things. There's actually another edit that I need to make. Okay, so for the whip pan, we actually want to go to the start of the whip pan make another cut, and now retime. There we go. And the same on the other side. So what this does is this retimes just the portion, but we want the whip pan to go at full speed, and then same on the other side. So once it lands, we're going to make another cut, and then we'll select this. And okay, that's actually now that I found it. Now that I found the retiming controls in Resolve, that's actually pretty elegant.
So elegant.
According to The Force Awakens, it took Han Solo 46 years to try his best friend's gun.
Or did it take 46 years for Chewie to be like, oh my God, stop asking, fine.
Okay, so
Like, was he really protective of it? Was he like an only child and he doesn't share well? You know, like he thought he was going to break it? Because I mean, let's look at his ship. Like I would totally believe that Chewie was like, no, you're not touching my gun.
Don't touch my bowcaster.
Have you seen the Millennium Falcon?
Have you seen?
Okay. So
like especially judging by Solo, how it looked before Han got a hold of it. I would never let Han touch any of my stuff. So that's actually one of the more believable things.
So all of this was a process of being like, it's like, oh, so like, what would you use? Remember where we started this? What would you use multiple timelines for? Okay, so we've now taken that complex coffee scene and built it into its own timeline. So now we can go back into, or I guess we're doing into timeline 1, and let's just make a random cut somewhere, and we can now take the coffee scene and just drop it in, and there we go. And now if we make any changes to the coffee scene, like so all of that complex stuff that's sitting on the timeline, we don't need to worry about like bumping it or like screwing it up when we have to move it, because it's a lot of cuts and it's a lot of very fine timing, and it can be really easy to like accidentally just get everything kind of out of sync.
Oh my God, you can just import that's like way better than the way Premiere does it. Like, oh God, if you try nesting, it like doesn't, it nests it, but it keeps all the audio in the scene as well.
Wait, what are you looking at?
In Premiere, like it's awful compared. This is just you. Can you like, okay, can you select a bunch of edits you've already done in a scene and hit a button that just automatically composes them into a new thing in the scene?
Yeah, new compound clip.
Yeah, wow. Like that's so much better.
Well,
That's
I mean, you can do it in actually, I guess there's probably a couple ways.
Yeah, you can do it in Premiere
like
a bunch of different ways,
clip.
and each way is not as good as this. Each way is broken in a different way, but it's like Resolve.
I mean, Nest works, or wait.
Kind of, but if you select everything and do Nest, it doesn't nest, but it nests the audio, but also keeps a copy in the scene, so you have to go and delete it, and it's really scary.
Yeah, no, it's not. You can grab a bunch of stuff and just like create new timeline from selection.
Oh,
I think that's the one that I use, because Nest is strange.
It's weird, and I'm not happy with it. It's not as good as just pre-compose in After Effects, and it's not as good as this.
So yeah, we just we created a compound clip, and now it's a compound clip, and it's now in our bins as compound clip 1.
Yeah.
So you use timelines as like sequence editing.
Well, so now with the coffee scene in particular, what we can do, because it's now a timeline, and because we can put a timeline into another timeline and edit it as though it were a clip, we can now take it and put in a bunch of edits and add we'll just do additive dissolve, and we need to get close enough that we can actually like see that. So yeah, we'll now just do, well, I guess that's actually really bad because we didn't change the time at all. So it's like, okay, we'll trim. Oh, here's something that I really like about Resolve versus Premiere, is that if you've applied an effect, you can use the trim tool on that edit without breaking the effect. So if you want to use trim in Premiere, you need to actually remove the effect and then trim the edit and then reapply the transition.
Like if you do like how you just like stretched out the book pages to last so many seconds, you have to like that kind of effect, you mean? Or like a visual?
No. So like, okay, so right now, here, let's find a better moment in this. Okay, so I want to take this coffee scene and truncate it the same way that I did in the actual episode. So I'm going to take a cross dissolve and I'm going to put it over this edit right here. But now, right now, this cross dissolve isn't doing anything because all I did was place a cut. I haven't actually removed anything. There's no difference between the A frame and the B frame. So I'm going to use my trim tool and I'm just going to cut out a bunch of stuff. And now
My driver. We have a photographer, his assistant,
and so
my
now
driver.
it just
We have a
does
photographer.
that. So now you've
his
got the crossfade. Now we've got the crossfade from one part of the book to the other. And if I don't quite like the timing, I don't need to take this crossfade, and if I don't need to take the cross dissolve, and I don't need to, and if I put a crossfade also on the audio, I can just use this trim tool to nudge it until I like it. I don't need to keep taking those off and then putting them back on. In Premiere, in order to like do this kind of like small retiming, you would need to remove the transition,
do the cut, and then
change the cut. Yeah.
We have a drive the photographer, his
it's not the worst in the world, but this is better. Being able to trim without removing your transitions. Like, that's actually part of why the coffee scene, like, I'm still not 100% happy with it, with like what words sort of like overlap each other. But that's part of how it wound up that way, is it was just taking too long to like, because you can't check which words are going to overlap until you reapply the transition, right?
Right.
So
that's frustrating.
Let's go over in Fairlight. Coffee scene. Well, we can actually go, where's our media pool? So Fairlight. All right, Fairlight. So we've got a couple things that we would actually want to do over here in Fairlight with the coffee scene. So one of the things that
Anna, I think he definitely likes you.
So the audio that Lindsay sent me is mono, but it's a stereo file. So she's only coming through the left channel. So we need to fix that. So there's a couple ways we can do it, but we need to, in one way or another, downmix her to mono. So we can either go through and we can like actually change the files, like we can re-export. We don't need the effects, or we can audio 4, change track type to, Mono. There we go. Done.
Certainly, sir.
Taylor replies.
Do you hear that?
I definitely hear that.
That's a common occurrence. Look forward to that when you're staying here.
So this is where Resolve starts to make a very compelling argument, is that granular audio editing, you can now, it's like, oh well, we'll just pull that timeline into the audio workspace and do all of the work there. One of the things that Premiere still does not have, and I don't know why, is it does not have envelope effects for audio tracks. So a while ago, like years ago, they put in adjustment layers into Premiere, so you can just, so like my LUT, my visual look, I put it into an adjustment layer and then just drag it through the entire project, so I don't need to worry about applying it to every single clip. And I can then tweak everything simultaneously by just like, I just need to change it in the one adjustment layer, and then it propagates through the entire project. You can't do that with audio in Premiere without jumping through the hoops of like taking a track and like exporting it as a solo track and then re-importing it as a clip. Yeah. So that means that you need to be at a locked edit stage, which, because maybe you're going to make adjustments and then be like, and once you've made the adjustments, you'll realize it's like, oh, well, I got other problems that I need to fix. I need to now change the edit, and it can be a hassle. So in Fairlight, in the Fairlight panel here, we can add, I don't know, we can add things at either the clip or the track level. So we can either take effects and we can drag them just to specific clips, like we can just add, I don't know, echo. What's this sound like?
I think he definitely likes you.
Okay, yeah, that definitely sounds weird. So we can just add that to one,
But I don't trust him.
but not the other, or we can add them at the track level. Let's add delay at the track level and just leave it as defaults.
I think he definitely likes you.
She says with no preamble whatsoever.
And we'll just delete that plugin because it's bad. Remove attributes, equalizer. Oh wait, no, I want to remove plugins. There we go.
Anna, I think he definitely likes.
Okay, yeah, that did work. Yeah. Color, same idea. So, all right, the coffee scene. We're gonna actually. So one of the things to note in the coffee scene. So we made all of these small cuts. So we technically have 4 different video clips in the coffee scene. So we don't want to work at the clip level. We want to work at the timeline level. So in our coloring, we're just going to add a corrector node, drag our inputs and outputs, and we'll just be really lazy and we'll go 3D LUT. I don't know, we'll just use Blackmagic's just cinema camera to Rex 709 V2. Sure, why not? And now that's applying, because we did it up at the timeline level. That now applies to all of these. And we still have the option of going through at the clip level and applying other things, but we're going to stay at the timeline level. We're going to add, nope. Node, add serial node. Oh, it's Alt S. And then this one, we want, oh, what's it under? I never do vignettes, and I'm trying to remember how to do a vignette in I know that there's a simple way of doing it.
Google it.
Oh, you just create a window. And then this is going to apply to, let's just actually go temp tint and lift. And we actually need to invert that window invert. There we go. Actually, lift is not what we want to use. No, not gamma, gain. There we go. And come on, grab it. Okay. There we go.
God, is that a power window?
It is. Well, I mean, it's not a power window. It's not technically a power window.
Oh, okay. Oh no! Someone sent me a curious cat
But it
asking
is a window.
if I just well actually Jenny Nicholson. And now I'm like, oh no, is that what I did?
About the hand chewy thing?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh no.
I mean, it's a goof thread.
Yeah.
It's
I took it really seriously though. Like, I mean, I don't know. I like to like do the thing that I do about Star Wars too much.
So now all of our changes are just like propagated through. I don't know why we're not seeing them in the edit panel. Like, we're seeing them in the preview. Why are we not seeing them in the...
So
Why
you
are we
can
not
do
seeing-
edits to specific clips on the timeline and also to like the base clips, so it's across all of them, right?
Oh, you're talking about like with color, with the coloring?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can work at either the clip level or the timeline level. So those are kind of your two things. And also, like, if you want to work at the clip level where you're propagating through like literally the entire project, then you do that from media, and you would go to, like, I don't know, let's say timeline 2. You would go to I would actually need to look at some actual clips. So we would go to this like clip here in our media bin, like in our media manager, and then we can add a LUT there. So we can just be just like, okay, well, this just uses Blackmagic Cinema film to Rec 709 V2, and now everywhere in the project that clip is going to have that LUT applied. and then in an edit by edit basis, we could turn it off, but by default it would have it on. But you can't make so the limitation there is that if you wanted to say, like, if you had a clip that was used in a lot of different ways in a lot of different contexts through the entire project, and you wanted to change all of them uniformly, the best way of doing that would be to actually edit one, export, like then create a LUT of that look, and then apply that LUT at the media level so that it would go through everything. Does that make any sense at all?
Oh yeah, that explains it. Yeah, I was like Premiere kind of has that, like the master clip editing thing, but it's buried and not as functional as I'd like it to be. Whereas this seems like very clear what you're changing and for how long, and that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the other way of doing it would be oh, we're on the wrong timeline. We need to go back to coffee scene.
Sorry, that's me shuffling papers. Sorry, I'll stop.
The other way of doing it is to, like, it's like, okay, well, we'll grab a still, and then you can go through and you can select like everything and then apply grade. So now I think we should have technically like double applied, but that's not going to oh wait, no. And never mind. No, that won't work because snapshots don't capture from the timeline level. Right. Yes. Or well, it would just reapply to the timeline thing. Sorry, I'm going around in a few circles now in terms of explanations. Who wants to watch Dan be tired and try to use Fusion?
Everybody.
Yay.
Okay, so when I first opened Premiere, or when I first opened Resolve years ago, when they're like, hey, Resolve 7, we've added editing things, and I'm like, sweet, I should check it out. Let's poke around at this. So I opened Resolve for the first time, and it took me about 30 minutes just to figure out how to actually edit anything.
But once you did,
because it was like, okay, well, how do I import footage? How do I actually get stuff in here? And how do that you need to like make a timeline before you can do anything. This was actually that thing that I was talking about last night on Twitter, how it's like, okay, you go to Fairlight and you're like, sweet, I'm just gonna like record some stuff, and you can't, because you can't do anything until you have a timeline. So you need to make a timeline before you can record into it, and then also you need to like manually patch your inputs to your tracks and whatnot, and stuff like that. So there's always kind of like starter hurdles to getting anything done. Like I have found that consistently with Resolve, there's going to be some hidden first step that you need to do before you can actually accomplish anything. And this is where I'm at with Fusion, assuming it's going to not... Oh, is it gonna... Okay, there we go. So, a couple weeks ago, I clicked on Fusion for this first time, and I was greeted by this. And I looked at it and was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So all right, here's all of our tools. Oh, so I clicked on text 3D and now it's just added nodes. It's added this free floating node to the bottom, and no, let's go hello. Yeah, let's go hello. Okay. It didn't appear anywhere, probably because we need to actually take this and media in, or does this just need to go to media out? Okay. Do we need a okay. Here's our challenge right now. How do we get this node to output?
Magic.
I assume we're going to need like a mixer node or something. So let's check Fusion console toolbar settings. Nope, that is not that's not gonna help me. Menu? What are those beeps? Which am I getting? Where am I getting beeps from?
It's not me. Oh wait, it's me.
You need composite merge.
I think
Composite merge.
it's just.
Is that under
let me
Fusion?
turn it off.
No. Import Fusion, reset composition. Okay, that's insert tool, composite, merge. There we go. Okay, merge. There we go. Nope. Nope. There. It won't go into the merge, and I don't know why.
It just struck me again just how hard a team of people have to work on like the 3D version of a movie and on the D-Box DX movie seats versions of a movie, and then when it leaves theaters, it's gone.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You know, someone out there has those installed in their like home movie theater.
Yeah, you want those things to be preserved. Like I really feel for like everyone who had to do stuff specifically for like the 48 FPS versions of the Hobbit movies. Like where is that? Where are those movies
They're
now?
just yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a merge node. We have a merge node, but our text does not seem to want to go into the merge node.
Is this a bit like Apple Shake?
Like I thought I would just have to drag it to, I'm trying to drag it to like the arrows, like very specific. Plug text into the green. What if I drag the green line But no, that's not doing it. What if I drag from the blue? Nope, that's not doing it. Hmm. Am I just not hitting the right? Like, okay, well let's I did get flares working the other day, and I'm trying to remember what they were under. It was like hotspot. So okay, there we go. By just dragging hotspot to the node, it rearranged. It's rearranging everything based on just like proximity, which is cool, which is fine. It's fine. Okay, so then we can go to the hotspot and we can, you know, why is it not actually, no, generators text plus. Okay, well let's take our hello and
So every time I've flown recently, a couple of days after, I develop weird cramps in my legs. And they're always a different kind of pain, but I got woken up by them today, and it was the kind that I usually get when I'm super like stressed out. And I don't get it. It's weird.
okay, sort of figured
Sorry.
out. Try to find the renderer 3D node. Okay, renderer 3D. All right, we have a renderer 3D node, and so like if we go media into renderer 3D, let's disable this stuff. Renderer 3D into media out. Or is it renderer 3D into merge and then merge to out and media to merge, and now I still don't see anything. Now we've lost signal entirely. Oh god. Oh god. I have no idea what's going on. I'm so lost. Okay, why don't I have... Okay, alright, there's my media, sort of, but it's not making it to the other side. Alright, what's happening in the merge? Nothing.
You plugged the renderer
Okay.
into the merge. It's not...
Okay, alright. What are we seeing on render 3D? Nothing. What are we seeing on text 3D 1? We have spatial. We have spatial handlebars. Okay, wait. Is the hotspot causing the problems? I don't know. Let's delete the hotspot and all right, what's the merge seeing right now? This is one thing that I did figure out, is that these two little pips at the bottom of a node are like what which display panel you want to send it to. So this is the thing here with Fusion is I understand the broad concept of how it works. That it's like, okay, it's node based. Like coloring is node based. You know, I'm used to working with nodes from doing coloring. Oh no, what happened? Where did all of our stuff go? Where did all of my work go?
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, that was a good learning moment.
Learning moments.
So I don't know where my nodes went.
My nodes.
My nodes. All right. Well, let's try it again. Okay. So 3D, we reportedly need a renderer 3D node, and we need a composite merge node, and we need text 3D. Yeah, so text 3D into renderer 3D, renderer into merge, media into merge as well, and merge into media out, and we once again have nothing, and I have a spinning ball icon. Okay, there we go. We have
I love your thinking. I hear it a lot, but it's not said a lot on stream. You guys enjoy this. This is one of my favorite Dan sounds. Be perplexed.
Go to merge settings. Apply mode. Operator. Over. Held out. Atop. XOR. Over. Turn alpha gain down to 0. All right. Oh, we need to put our... Hey. Oh, we have something. Okay. So, all right. I've added text, and we can now sort of see our... Okay, wait. All right. So if alpha gain's up at 1... Wait, what? Wait, what? Blend, what? What?
Hello.
What?
Why does it fade out the...
What?
Hello.
Why?
That's
What?
not how alpha gain... What?
What?
Oh god, you guys, they're stuck in a loop. I'll just talk
Yeah,
to
are
you.
we about to cut to next time on Doctor Who?
Yes.
Oh god. So this amazing that they put the unfinished alpha of the editing program inside Resolve.
So what's happening that's wrong?
So, okay, so if we change, so as the alpha gain goes down, one of our inputs becomes like basically they cross over in transparency.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in a very strange way. Like if we turn alpha gain all the way down to 0, our text is solid. But our input media, like just the video of the book, goes like 75% transparent.
Weird.
So let's check what the display of the renderer 3D is. Process mode, full frame, domain, overscan, depth, source scan, no, I don't know, what if change blend? Process when blend is 0? No, that's not changing anything. Apply mask inverted? No. Multiply by mask? No. Oh, just check it. Okay, so there's what our renderer is seeing. Yeah, so there's the render. There's renderer 3D 1 is seeing that. And then the merge in, held out, top, wait, if we go with top and then, all right, that does it. So, okay, if we set it to XOR and turn the alpha gain all the way down, all right, there we go. So if we turn the operator to XOR and turn the alpha gain all the way down, it just goes on top. All right. Okay. All right.
We figured it out.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
Figured out a fix.
All right. Okay. We have at least gotten to a place where it's behaving the way I would nominally expect it to, given what we're just kind of like poking at. All right. We want 3D text. Okay, we've got text 3D. All right, extrusion. Let's do a classic extrusion to a nominal depth. Can we, where's our V anchor, V justify, H anchor? Where is our transform rotation? That is not what I was expecting that to do. Okay, that is not what I think. Okay, wait. No. No. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay, now back to extrusion. We want some nice There we go. Nice fat text. And
Text.
yeah.
You guys, you're
Now-
about to. Dan's about to out himself. Dan's about to out himself and show you all that the default, like the font, like the what he uses for all of his titles is just your good old simple classic Arial Black.
Yeah.
It is actually. I use Arial Black for a lot of things.
Hmm.
It works.
I pay
It works
attention.
very well.
Dan seems surprised. Dan seems surprised that I know what his font is.
I haven't even changed, but now that you've said it, you know what? Let's go. Let's go change it.
So, you know I'm an intellectual because I use Garamond.
Ooh, I love Garamond though.
It's Calibri, which is Windows's like ripoff of what is it? The good one, the original good font that was on wanted posters. What is that?
No, I don't know.
What's the really good Apple font?
Are you talking Helvetica?
Helvetica. That's it. How did I forget Helvetica? What's wrong with me?
I don't know. I was really confused.
All right. It took us like a half hour. It took us like a half hour, but we now have spinning 3D text. Yeah. It runs at like
Woo!
1 frame a sec. We're getting a playback rate of 4 frames a second. But probably because it's actually trying to. There we go. Now we're getting. We're still only getting like 4 frames a second. But.
I like when you're trying to pick a font. And you're cycling through till like things don't look like words or like and you're just like you just have like 100 different versions of like one word and like all these different fonts and you're like, oh god, and then you're just like, you know, fuck it, just Arial Black. like fuck it, going back to Garamond. Like God, I went through all that when I was trying to figure out like my resume. I was trying to make it all pretty and it's like, oh god, I've changed it so many times.
Hello everyone. Okay, all right, there we go. Now it's finished. It's finished rendering. It should actually we're getting like 18 frames a second. That's almost acceptable. Yeah, look at it. It almost looks the way it's just like something.
It's exactly like in the books.
Exactly.
Hello, said Christian.
Hello, said Christian Grey.
Hello.
I would like. Oh man. Oh. My brain immediately started going to just like this terribly drawn out joke about replacing all of Christian Grey's dialogue with like just garbage 70s space alien dialogue. It's like, I would like to bork you, Anna. Can we bork? Oh no, I thought to myself, this spaceman would like to bork me. What should I say? Hello, said Christian, giving nothing away. That line.
It's so bad.
Because he just says yes. He just says because he just says yes, sir. Right? Like he's just like.
Yes.
That's all he says.
Yes, Mr. Grey, or something like that. Yeah.
Mr. Grey, Taylor asks when he reaches us, giving nothing away. Mr. Grey? What the? What would he give away?
That's what I want to know. I'm telling you, I don't.
Like
You
it's
sent me such aneurysm like worthy sections to read, Dan. You really milked both my patience and our friendship. You're like, this is my one chance.
I mean, it's such a It's late and I'm tired and I'm becoming
Taylor.
obsessed.
It's like he's gonna be like, hey Taylor, and then Taylor's just like one of those people who he's like but like that comedic moment where he's like, hey Taylor, and he's like, yes, Mr. BDSM guy. Like, what is he gonna say? Like, how is he gonna respond to someone calling his name? Like, yeah, what? Do you need me to take Anna back to your kinky fuck room? Is that what you want?
Okay, so like this is a good example of sort of what I'm referring to when I talk about like reading a text, like figuring out like what the text is, saying. That this line, giving nothing away, implies that there is something to be given away. It implies something about the interpretation of this interaction that makes no sense once you actually look at it, which is that it's like a wealthy man has called the attention of his employee. That it's like he's called his driver. He has called over his driver, his employee. Like, this is the most banal interaction you could think of. This is like imagine if we inserted this into any food service thing that it's like Anna goes into Subway. Hello, welcome to Subway, the sandwich artist said, giving nothing away.
Said surreptitiously.
Damn it, Dan, why wasn't that in there with the blueberry gag?
Oh man. Oh.
It's so easy to make fun of the writing style of these books, without any kink shaming.
I don't make love, I bork.
Oh god.
Yeah, like the writing is so bad. I'm actually really glad that a lot of fan fiction writers have responded saying that they appreciate how fair I was to fan fiction as an outlet, as a genre, because that was something that I tried really hard at. Was that it's like, okay, I don't just want to be like, oh man, it was fan fiction, ergo bad. And it's like, no, it wasn't bad because it was fan fiction. It was bad because it was bad fan fiction.
Bad because it was terrible.
Because it was bad. Like, it was bad because it was bad, not because it was fan fiction. Like, that fan fiction has had an impact on it. Like, its origin has had an impact on it, but it has more to do, it actually has less to do with it being fan fiction and more to do with the fact that it was like serial public performance posted every couple of days, that whole interaction. Like, it's the same thing. I look at some of my old videos, like I have that little run of videos talking about like the Thermion argument and the hypothetical case study of Assassin 47, and like it's a sequence of 4 videos that are all sort of thematically interlinked. And you look at those, and if I were to take them and just smash them end to end and call it like, hey, here it is, one big video essay on this subject, it would suck. It would be really jankily paced. It would be really inconsistent because it was developed as serial content, one after the other in this feedback relationship. If I wanted to take it and turn it into a unified essay, I would need to do a lot of reworking. Granted, I could keep a lot of it, but I would need to do some serious structural work to actually make it into a single half-hour essay instead of just 4 essays glued back to back.
And in this sort of metaphor, oh, I'm sorry, that's a really loud car. In this metaphor, the equivalent then would be like if you tried to do that, and then someone like a really big name film editor, or like not even that, just like a really like someone who's really, really popular on YouTube and knows how to make good YouTube videos was then like, hey, you should probably add some like transitions here and make a couple of cuts. And you were like, fuck you. Don't mess with the structure of my video.
Yeah, and then your next video essay on the subject the next week would begin with a rant about them. And
Yeah,
then
about that
continue on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
Charles Dickens wrote serialized fiction. Alexander Dumas wrote serialized fiction. Victor Hugo wrote serialized fiction. You know, you wonder why Three Musketeers books have so many just like, it's like, oh, here's a chapter where D'Artagnan just beats his manservant for 8 pages, and that's it. You know, like that's the entire chapter.
Named after a popular critic. Of
Yeah, and it turns out that Alexander Dumas really liked money and liked getting paid, and as much as he enjoyed writing, he enjoyed boozing and whoring more. And so if he had the option between writing a chapter where things actually happened and getting drunk and banging out a chapter the next morning, he took the second option.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that whole structuring thing.
Earthman Dave asks, is beating his manservant a euphemism? No, he, like, D'Artagnan is incredibly abusive to his employees.
Although it's a euphemism now, that is finding its way into my vocabulary. Hey, what are you doing tonight? Are you going to go home and beat your manservant?
Oh, no.
If you know what I mean.
Oh, no.
It's happening. It's happening.
Oh, no.
It's happening. It exists now. It has been created.
And
To be
yeah,
fair,
like
that
a lot
probably
of
is actually already a thing.
a lot of 19th century literature was like pay by the word. It's like, oh, if you give me, you know, I mean, not quite as literally, but functionally it was pay by the word. It was by volume and not by by quality, because it's like, all right, we need to fill out pages, because I mean, it kind of goes to like, oh man, I should do an entire video on like the hidden incentives of like how that comes about, because it's like, all right, you're a print publisher, you're a publisher, so you're putting out like cheaply made books, and so because they're cheaply made, they're essentially like pre-packaged lengths. So it's like, you know, you have your fold of paper, and it's like, all right, you have 32 pages that you need to fill, because your book is going to be 32 pages long, because that's what the actual publisher like gives you. Is they're like, look, you get one fold, it's 32 pages, you need to find 32 pages of content, otherwise you're going to have a bunch of blank pages. So then you go to writers and are like, look, I need 6 pages by next Thursday. And if you can do that, I will pay you. And if you can't do that, if you come in under 6 pages, if you do not have 6 pages of content, you don't get paid, and I'm going to print your stuff anyway, because I'm an abusive, like, I'm just a garbage person, because I'm a capitalist.
They don't usually say it like that.
They don't usually say it, like, they don't usually admit it, they just steal your stuff. You know, like, so like that whole incentive set, that it's like that you've got this incentive being passed down the line, but that incentive is rooted in a physical limitation. You know, it's kind of like how, you know, this is sort of one of the things that I addressed in my jump cut episode, is, you know, that the origins of that go back to when YouTube videos were hard capped at 10 minutes. And so you had to cut out any dead space. And then it becomes style. And yeah. So I don't know.
An 8-part epic.
And now it's like an hour is just like, yeah, that's just a thing. It took me so long to produce an hour-long video. I have no idea how Noah does it. Like, I have no idea how you do it. I rewatched the Dark Souls 2 video a few days ago, and I was just like,
thank you.
You know, that alone was like an hour worth of content semi-excised from another hour-long video. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
What? How?
It's interesting because like aesthetically, like there's this divide between people who make long videos that are kind of just them talking or like just kind of bad and like opinion pieces or whatever, and then there's like, here is a proper video essay that is this length and paced, and doing the latter takes so much time.
Yeah.
Like it isn't even like, oh, I just have to make 10 5-minute chapters and just make each of them as if they were one video, because you have to also paste them with each other and all of that. Like I don't know how I did it, and each time I do it, I'm like, I can't do that again because I had a talent that is gone. Sometimes I've read old things I've written or watched them. I'm like, why was good once? Where did that go? So
yeah. Noah, the Dreamer says like Noah doesn't give a crap about his sound production. He sneezes, he leaves it in. You know what? I understand it from Noah's perspective, both as an aesthetic and as just a practicality of like how much he goes through. Like an hour-long timeline is actually really difficult to work on.
Yeah.
Because your screen is only so big, so it's like your timeline doesn't get any longer. It just gets tinier.
Yeah.
Until eventually you reach a point where it's like 1 pixel represents 30 seconds. 40 seconds, an entire minute. And yeah, so eventually it's like, you know what? It's really hard to find those things, and it's a hard amount to grapple with. Like people were saying, like people have pointed out a couple of the tiny mistakes in the 50 Shades video, and it's like, I'm surprised you didn't catch that. I'm like, it's an hour long. Like you think about like that means that it takes like if I want to review it, even if I'm watching it at 2 times speed, that's a half hour just to rewatch it. And how many, so it's like you think about like an editing process where it's like, okay, I'm going to make a few changes and then I'm going to watch it. It's like, well, every time you do that, if you watch it at normal speed, well, that's another hour. So if you're trying to keep yourself healthy and are only doing like, maybe pushing yourself to 10 hours of editing in a day, 10 straight hours, like you can do that. Like if you do it 5 times, there's half your day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the things with like, particularly like when you're editing a feature and you're getting towards the end, it's like every time you have a sit down with all of the key creatives and you go through it, it's like that's an entire day.
Yeah, and like it's very hard to not miss a mistake at that point, or very hard to miss not miss. Yeah,
it's very easy. Yeah, it's very easy to miss mistakes.
Yeah, like there's a huge mistake in like the anti-feminism versus facts video, and that's only like 20 minutes where like I didn't like if you slide your mouse all the way to the left really quickly when you're sliding opacity in After Effects, sometimes it slides back 2%. So there's like a very, very slightly 2% opaque arrow just over all the footage. Like, and I didn't see it until it went up. Like,
yeah,
like, you just don't see it. That stuff, it just happens, and it's awful.
I had
one thing, it just sticks over it, and like imagine that, but for like 2 hours. All the potential problems.
So, one of my major. So I should be getting a drip invite sometime soon, based on word from internal.
Sweet.
And I'm realizing that one of my like now major incentives for actually having that avenue is test watchers who know about things I don't know about, like who know about the history of Power Rangers and can fact check something like, it's like, no, she, 1, not Pink Ranger, 2, she never actually worked on the show. So 3, her like just bio at the top of Google is like wrong. It's like, you know, catch it, like it's like stuff like that. It's like I have never seen an entire episode of Power Rangers.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, you know. I'm surprised you didn't get Linkara to fact check your video.
Well, I mean, and that one was also, I mean, that one was supposed to be a vlog. I kind of regret doing it in front of the wall instead of doing it at the mic like the last few.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it looked nice. I had fun with
I
it.
like, was it Book of Henry where you were just sitting at your kitchen table or something?
I was, yeah.
Like that one?
Well, because the first several, it was like a different location every time.
Yeah, you did it like in your car after Suicide Squad.
Yeah. And that one's kind of cool because like the sun goes down over the course of 45 minutes.
It's perfectly timed.
And yeah, so I think for vlogs I might go back to that because it provides a much stronger semiotic different like distinction between the two. So the thumbnail stands out more, and it's better easier for people to anticipate what level of commentary and accuracy it's going to be at, because it's like it reads a little bit better as like, hey, I sat down and I just started talking, and yeah. And then I also need to remember to, like, I don't know, A, fact check things beforehand, or B, admit that I have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm not actually sure if I have any idea what I'm talking about.
People just assume you know everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Noah reproaches himself about how slow he is all the time, but I don't think he's that slow. Like, honestly, for the sheer, like, volume that he is able to produce, no, he's not that slow at all. Like, there was one month where he put out, like, 5 hours worth of very thoroughly edited work. Like, and it was all written. Like, he wrote 5 hours worth of
stuff.
Yeah, and it's like researched. He didn't just play the game. He like thought about it. He read books on the subject and the other related topics, and also, you know, game design. Like it's so good. I feel like Noah might be the Stevens sausage roll of video creators, where like the more you know about the craft of this thing, the more fascinating it becomes.
All right, it's midnight.
Oh wow.
It is quite late.
It is quite late. Hey, collectively, we figured out how to make Fusion do a thing.
You did.
And also I got to show process on cutting that whole sequence that I cut.
And
The
thinking
coffee sequence. I mean, that's a good indication. So if you're wondering like how long things take to do, cutting that coffee sequence, cutting it here in Resolve was not actually that much slower than it took me the first time. You know, that's kind of how long these things take. So it's like, so yes, that one gag did in fact take me a little over an hour to actually cut the first time. Yeah. So it's a good yeah. Everybody wants to hear the Inner Goddess line. All right.
At least I don't have to hear it again because I don't have audio.
At least you don't have to hear it. All right, let me just quickly check what page that was.
There's 3 different takes too, Dan.
There's 3 different takes. So, oh man, I actually closed the excerpts document because when we were talking about the timeline of the books, I opened my reconstructed 50 Shades timeline in order to pull out that thing, because I was saying, like I said, June 4th is the anniversary of their breakup. That the the books start May 9th and they end September 21st. And they get married about August 10th-ish. So, yeah. It gets really funny when you realize that the third book takes place over 2 months. So like they go on their honeymoon. Their gray house gets bombed. The server room gets firebombed. There's a kidnapping. There's in the book. It's like her dad almost dies. The third turns like super soap opera. It's still very poorly written, but it's super soap opera, and it's such. Oh, it's.
And
it's
I
such
think
garbage.
that's a video we need from you. We need you to think way too hard about the visual language and what parts of soap operas are legitimate. That's what we need. That's what needs to happen.
What parts of soap operas are legitimate?
Oh my god, the best part of being in Australia was I got to go on the Neighbours tour.
I don't know what that is. I saw your photos and I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Okay, listen. Neighbours should be there for one another.
You're just gonna quote the theme song at me, aren't you?
No. No, I'm going to quote the 90s version of the theme song that I know better than the others. No. It's an Australian-made soap that is watched almost exclusively in the UK. So the tour bus was 90% English people and 10% Australians. And there was an extra 10% that were the kids of the Australians who were really bored. And yeah, that was it.
And I was not one of the kids that hated going to museums. As a kid, I liked it, but I can understand a kid being bored at a museum a little bit. But I would pick being bored at a museum over being bored on a TV soap opera tour bus.
Yeah, but we actually went to the Neighbours is set on a specific court, like a cul-de-sac, whatever. We got to go to it and stand around outside the houses and hold up the sign for the place, because Ramsay Street is the street it's set on, but it's not actually called Ramsay Street, so they have a fake sign. So we got to pose with fake versions of the sign. It was amazing.
Wow.
Now, I stopped watching the show in the 90s, when I no longer needed to be in the same room as my mother while she was watching it. But it was amazing getting to realizing that it hasn't really changed all that much.
Did you send your mom all the pictures? Was she excited?
I did, yes. I got it. I have a postcard that's signed by someone who used to be on the show.
Oh my god!
And also, I have an I Love Ramsay Street badge. So,
all right, Crystal, what do you think? Take 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I mean, you might as well just play everybody all 3 pieces of trash because you made me record them. So this is the most playtime they're ever gonna get.
All right, everybody. Gray, page 164, take 1.
If I'd not met him, I'd still be sweetly and blissfully oblivious. My mind drifts to last night and this morning, and the incredible sensual sexuality I'd experienced. Do I want to say goodbye to that? No! Screams my subconscious. My inner goddess nods in silent, zen-like agreement with her.
Gray, page 164, take 2.
Oh god.
If I'd not met him, I'd still be sweetly and blissfully oblivious. My mind drifts to last night and this morning, and the incredible sensual sexuality I'd experienced. Do I want to say goodbye to that? No! Screams my subconscious.
My inner
goddess nods in silent zen-like agreement with her.
Oh, it's so good. Take 3. I'm going to read a lot. What?
Do 3.
If I'd not met him, I'd still be sweetly and blissfully oblivious. My mind drifts to last night and this morning, and the incredible sensual sexuality I'd experienced.
How did you master these wave files?
Do I want to say goodbye to that? No! Screams my subconscious. My inner goddess nods in silent Zen-like agreement with her.
And one last time.
Oh god.
If I'd not met him, I'd still be sweetly and blissfully oblivious. My mind drifts to last night and this morning, and the incredible, sensual sexuality I'd experienced. Do I want to say goodbye to that? No! Screams my subconscious. My inner goddess nods in silent Zen-like agreement with her. Oh, it's the other one. Actually, the other one that got cut was gray pages 304 through 305. I think you need to learn to manage my expectations. I am not a patient man.
I'm reading the email that he sends her.
If you know,
It's email he sends her back. Right?
it's
Or no, that one made it in.
that one made it in, but then this was a different email. This was a different email. Otherwise, I worry, and it's not an emotion I'm familiar with, and I don't tolerate it very well. Call me. Double crap. Will he ever give me a break? I scowl at the phone. He is suffocating me. With a deep dread uncurling in my stomach, I scroll down to his number and press call. My heart is in my mouth as I wait for him to answer. He'd probably like to beat 7 shades of shit out of me. The thought is depressing.
Yep.
Jesus.
That was good. That was fun to do that one too, and then didn't use it.
Well, so that one, I remember where I wanted to put it, which was after Jenny Trout's quote. But in retrospect, it actually, like, it probably would have wound up getting, like, even if I had remembered to put it in, it probably would have wound up getting cut out for pacing. So,
Right.
I mean, but it's a really good exemplar, but we had some other really good exemplars too. So, yeah.
Oh god, the inner goddess. What made that even so? Not only not only did you make me end up at the last minute making me do it and then not using it, but what makes that line even worse is it's not just the bullshit inner goddess thing. It's for some reason her inner goddess and her subconscious
are talking like our
different things, and they're having a conversation with each other in her head.
The her subconscious is screaming no, while her inner goddess nods in silent Zen-like agreement with her subconscious.
How can an inner voice say nothing? That's like, okay.
Like she pictures them as anthropomorphic because there's
And
one
even
where
better,
it's like, my inner goddess does cartwheels. Like she pictures them as these anthropomorphized. It's like they're her imaginary friends. Like,
so like her inner goddess
so
looks up. There's one where it's like my inner goddess looks up from the Shea lounge that she's laying on. Looks up from the book that she's reading on a Shea lounge and shrugs at me. It's like,
my inner goddess drank all the wine and now she's drinking some more.
Yeah, and all of this is internal monologue. So it's already her inner voice. So it's her inner voice
talking about
anthropomorphizing her inner goddess and her this is a common thing that people point out. I don't think Erica Mitchell knows what the subconscious is. I don't think she knows what that word means.
I don't think she does. I don't think she knows what it means.
Because if your subconscious is saying things like stalker, it's not your subconscious. It's just like it would be better anthropomorphized as like the voice in the back of my head.
Yeah,
which would you could maybe then be like, oh, my inner goddess, it's the voice in the back of my head. Right.
But she thinks her subconscious is the voice in the back of her head, and she also has an inner goddess. So
yeah, so like TJ saying, inner goddess would be her Jungian shadow. So the voice in the back of her head, like depending on what that there would be this one anthropomorph, but yeah, you just it's very crowded in there. It's very crowded.
Also,
Plum
to
Baron
use
is
the-
laughing
like-
at how loud the no was because okay, so
Yeah.
I did my best to read things in the way that Erica Mitchell writes the dialogue tags. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I did one where I was like, okay, I put emphasis on it, but I wasn't gonna. But then I was like, what is the actual? It's like, no, my subconscious screams or shouts. What is it?
Screams my subconscious.
Yeah, and I wasn't actually gonna scream, but
I wonder.
I did one that I was as close as I could get to like really loud, just because like you can't not try to read it the way she writes these tags because it makes it so much more absurd.
I think it's supposed to be like it like okay, let's take this and let's merge it with other equally poorly written property, Ready Player One, and I think it'll make more sense. If I'd not met him, I'd still be sweetly and blissfully oblivious. My mind drifts to last night and this morning and the incredible sensual sexuality I'd experienced. Do I want to say goodbye to that? No, screams my subconscious in the style of Darth Vader at the end of Revenge of the Sith. My inner goddess nods in silent Zen-like agreement with her.
Yeah. I'm still like reeling from the fact that the book 50 Shades of Grey also includes in it the much better term for the book, 7 Shades of Shit. Like that's such a funny phrase.
That was actually really hard to say though. There's two readings before like while I was just like warming up reading it and I just was like speeding through things. I was like like,
yeah,
like
too
very
many-
tongue
too many
twistery
sounds.
in the middle of that line because there's so much like this dial. It was so hard to read this
No,
in this
okay,
like
wait.
keep tripping over it.
Robot Ghost says, so the inner goddess is Palpatine. Okay, let's take this. Let's back up. Okay. No, screams my subconscious in the style of Darth Vader at the end of Revenge of the Sith. My inner goddess nods in silent Zen-like agreement with her.
Like
Good,
Sheev
good.
Palpatine.
Much like Emperor Palpatine in the same movie.
In the same movie.
In the same movie.
That's a really good. Please, you could at this point, you could write the best fan
Ready
fiction.
Player One, 50
nerd-
Shades of
nerd
Mashup.
book. Yeah.
50 Shades of Player One.
Oh
God.
50 players.
So TJ did say that about saying that because it revels in things that Anna does that she wouldn't normally about the inner goddess. And that's not true though. The inner goddess is the one that like the inner goddess doesn't have a set like sometimes she's throwing shade. Like or what
Yeah,
is it her
sometimes she's just a
subconscious?
bitch.
No, her subconscious is the one that's throwing shade. So earlier her subconscious is like during the coffee scene, her subconscious says something. Oh, like, oh, maybe he thinks you're just a bitch because you haven't woken up yet. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
dumbass. Like,
My heart slams into my mouth. A date? Christian Grey is asking me on a date? He's asking if you want coffee. Maybe he thinks you haven't woken up yet. My subconscious whines at me in a sneering mood again. Okay, I'm actually going to drag this. I need people to see how this is formatted in the book. I copied this formatting out of the book. This is in fact how it looks. So a date, my heart slams into my mouth. A date, then italicized, Christian Grey is asking me on a date, back to normal text, he's asking if you want a coffee, back to italics, maybe he thinks you haven't woken up yet, comma, my subconscious, comma, normal text, my subconscious whines at me in a sneering mood again. What voice is saying these things?
and speaking of that, do you know how hard that was for me to figure out how to read that in a way that was like differentiating the italicized, but because like it was going to be shown on screen too, right? Like, because if I was just going to read this and there wasn't going to be the visual, it'd be like, okay, whatever, I can just read it like a normal fucking person would. But then you're arguing with yourself.
Yeah.
And, oh God, it was just so weird. So weird.
So is the subconscious speaking both italics? It's just like, well, so because narration inner voice and subconscious are all very poorly differentiated. Now,
And they're not always
fortunately,
in italics, and sometimes they're in quotes,
yes,
and sometimes they're in normal text. So they're not
Yes.
even like universal throughout.
they are
the
not
book.
consistent. They are not consistent. Now, fortunately, Inner Goddess never says anything. She just like she just Wile E. Coyotes a lot. Like occasionally, there's actually a scene where she like holds up a sign with text written on it.
Yeah, and it's like, go to him.
Yeah,
Like it's like something really stupid where it's like flashing lights. It's like very Looney Tunes. Like her inner goddess is a Looney Tunes character.
yeah. I always visualized her as like Tinkerbell.
Yes.
Like in my head, she's the inner
that's
goddess is
really good.
Tinkerbell. Like is literally just Tinkerbell. She is in fact a tiny sprite just off to the side of Anna at all times, and Anna just believes that she is like a manifestation of her internal world, not realizing that it is in fact a separate being named Tinkerbell that just follows her around.
Oh God. You guys, this was hard. did it
So she sees her inner goddess. I mean, she kind of because her inner goddess is always doing visual things, and it'll have like directional things. So it's like my inner goddess looks up at me from her Shea lounge.
It's really bizarre, you guys. Like you don't understand how frickin' weird it is.
So my inner goddess held up a sign. Uh-oh, it flashed for a second before she and her sign were crushed beneath an Acme brand anvil. I would legit watch a movie where the main character could see her inner goddess standing behind everyone miming to her. I mean, isn't that basically Drop Dead Fred and or
The thing is,
Single
if they-
Female Lawyer, except the actual Single Female Lawyer show, which was called
Ally
McBeal.
So really, if they had just embraced, like if they had just gone full fucking ham and had made a movie where you hear her inner monologue and her inner goddess is like a manifestation only she can see, it would have been a fucking hysterically perfect movie.
Yeah, I mean, and it would have
It would have made it so pretty good.
And this is kind of the thing, is that 50 Shades is so absurd and so in denial about what it is that like if you picked literally just one of them and like leaned into it, so like, okay, let's turn this into a proper romance and like throw out all of the like weird, meaningless, dark, edgy bullshit. If we leaned into the absurdity of it, if we leaned into the fact that it is kind of abusive and sinister and just made it into a thriller, like just pick one, pick one and go with
one
it.
of the things, but they tried to like half embrace half of the things and tried to make a genuine sexy movie, and it's not that at all.
I mean,
although at least by the very nature of the sex scenes involving visual aids, it is at least sexier than the books.
Yeah,
the sex scenes in the book as written are so terrible.
Very gross.
They're just bad. They're so bad.
I really wish I could get a hold of Kelly Marcel's first draft, because the way that she described the draft before Erica rejected it was Body Heat meets every Beyonce video playing simultaneously. Like that she wanted to just go like abstract, like music video abstract, and just weird, and I really want to see that draft.
Yeah, there's so many like good things in the movie comparatively, and a lot of it is really well made. And like,
And it's gonna
It's a
be
shame.
it's gonna be so much fun when we get to the next 2 movies and all of that goes out the window because E.L. James fired Kelly Marcel and replaced her with her husband, not Kelly Marcel's husband, with Erica Mitchell's husband, and fired Sam Taylor Johnson as director and replaced her with that dude who made Glengarry Glen Ross back in the 90s. And the fact the creative heads go from 2/3 or from 3 out of 3 being women to 2 out of 3 being men, oh boy, does it show. Oh boy, does it show. The cinematography gets much less ambitious. The color grade gets just lazy. Everything just gets cheap. And you know, I can't wait to go to the 3rd one and I get to actually like show you that there is a firebombing that takes place off screen. Like the camera like zooms in, like it pushes in on this bomb as it's like blinking, and then it cuts to another scene where there's about 30 seconds of dialogue about nothing, and then Taylor comes in and hands Gray an iPad with news about there being a bombing at their office building. The exciting moment happens off screen. And football mouth. What people like, Anna's makeup just gets bizarre. There's an entire scene. I don't know if I can, like, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this on YouTube, because there's an entire scene where Anna is she's just topless. Like she's just in, like, okay, she's like getting ready to go out and just like do stuff, but she's wearing like full sexy lingerie, like see-through, you know, like demi cup bustier that only comes up like halfway up her nipples, you know, garter belts, you know, like the whole deal, like really elaborate, like, all right, we're having a real night in kind of like complex lingerie. And she spends the entire scene just like standing there having this argument, wearing this, and then at the very end puts on a dress and leaves.
Magic.
And it's like, what is this scene? Who is this for? And this is what I mean when it's like it becomes so obvious that the gender makeup of the creative team went from female to 2/3 male. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Don't give it all away.
Don't give it all away. Oh, trust. Oh, there's don't worry. There's these are some of the juiciest bits, but don't worry. There's more.
Wow.
All right. It is now 1 a.m. So we've spent 45 minutes wrapping up.
We're good at this. This is how we usually do it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out for this this editing stream and impromptu 50 Shades shade. I hope you enjoyed it.
I should do a video about Bright and look at its original script.
Oh, don't. No, we're not. We can't start talking about Bright script. We can't start talking about the Bright script.
Allow me to begin a reading of the 400-page Super Mario World script, which I have on my hard drive.
Send it to me.
Okay.
I need it. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming out. I hope you learned something about editing. I hope I know I did. I learned how to make 3D rotating text in Fusion. thank you all for your help on figuring that out and pointing me in the right direction. We did it together. It was a good time. Hey, anything you two want to plug? I know what I want to plug. So if y'all want to plug something other than Natalie's latest video, like that'd be cool.
I was literally going to say, yeah, check out 3 Arrows if you hadn't. They're an up and coming other one of those in terms of like
Sean, but German.
Yeah, but German. And there's also Drolaster, who
I haven't seen their stuff yet.
They're still pretty new. And also Condo's new video, which I haven't seen, but I've already retweeted, so it's like an endorsement. So I hope she didn't say anything mean.
Man, Contras.
If you guys have not watched Dan's goddamn great video yet, what are you doing with your lives? I know it looks long, but it won't even feel like an hour has passed. Turn that shit on and clean your room. Do something good for yourself. Listen to it.
And watch ContraPoint's latest video. It gets a little intense and it goes hard, but it is extremely to the point. I shouldn't say it's basically a short film. It is actually a short film. But yeah, it oh boy, cuts right to the bone. So yeah, check it out. And people are linking rad stuff in chat, so that's cool. And we'll catch you all later, I guess Monday night for what are we doing, Detroit, or are we doing CSI? Or we'll decide. Well,
I think Monday we'll do Detroit, and if we do end up finishing it because we only have one more person to get murdered, then we'll switch. But
True,
I thought we were gonna do CSI was gonna like take over Amy's slot post GDQ. We were gonna do like all the procedurals.
We're not doing any action games until after GDQ because I can't afford to confuse my brain at all. So
wow, GDQ.
We'll saw that GDQ's coming up real fast.
Are you real excited?
I'm getting real excited. But anyway, all right. We'll figure it all out. Probably Detroit on Monday. More Detroit.
Yay. Maybe I'll talk to you guys about the Detroit riots.
Sweet.
All right. Peace out.
All right. Peace. Pushing the button.